Alrighty, folks, welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host Mike from PA. We are live once again. How is everybody doing today? Holy shit. Good vibes only. Did Ethan end up debating Sam Cedar? Not that I'm aware of. Play the Chinese military death march YouTube video? I don't know what about that one. Chinese propaganda rock is so cheesy. It's literally not even Chinese. It's just socialist. Today is good vibe day. I feel like I was too negative to the Canadians. I guess I just have a really bad vibes when an investment banker from Goldman Sachs becomes leader of the country. That's really bad vibes. And I think you're a liberal if you disagree. And I mean that with like I use liberal the way that we used to use other insults in high school in the 2000. Okay, let's just put it that way. All right, if I call you a liberal, that is like the biggest insult I could ever levy against you. So you should take it from now on informationally. If I'm like, wow, that person's a liberal, I mean, not only do I hate them, I also think they're irredeemably stupid. All right, let's keep going. We forgive you, Mike. It was just hard not to be elated when PP lost his seat. It's true. It's true. I mean, it is good when the Canadian version of Ben Shapiro loses. Like, you know what? You deserve the right to cheer on that. Australia's looking at a labor majority. Good vibes. Nice. Well, I mean, I feel like Australian labor is suffering from the same contagion that every other Anglo left-wing party is, which is neoliberals just taking over and then sucking shit. There's no Anglo like left-wing party that's doing well. It's going to require the United States to lead it. So what are we talking about today? Hold on. We got a Trump daily post. This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. Oh, fuck. Is the stock market crashing? Fuck. I should have started Tesla again. Shit. Okay, I still have time. Wow, it went up to like 290. Oh my god, I missed the show. What the fuck? I didn't pay attention for like 2 days and it went to 290 and that's gonna crash immediately. Oh, I really okay. All right, remind me. Oh god, I don't even want to wait. I feel like it's gonna fall off a cliff today, but maybe it won't. I don't know. The economy's crashing, chat. It's fucked. I'm buying. Oh, chat, I found my lens for my camera. Can I show you guys what lens I was thinking about getting? And before you start freaking out that it's way too expensive, listen. I'm gonna be using this lens as a professional video production device, probably for a decade at least. Okay, so it's gonna be a lot, but I'm gonna be using this lens forever. Okay, so don't freak out. I'm telling you because I don't want to buy cheap crap. So video perverts in. Let me see, which one was it? I didn't order it yet because Vio was apparently she got like a $500 gift card or something from like Twitch, so she was giving me that as a present. This. Now we did all the math. I'm getting a prime lens because, let's be honest, it's going to sit on my desk for 99% of the time. 99.9. If I want to use the camera for something else, I'll get some other one. That's not that expensive. Isn't it, though? $1,300 for a lens is not expensive? I am apparently a brokey boy. Mike, for lenses, this is normal. That's not bad for a good lens, but I'm a photographer. Is it a good lens? I mean, I thought it was. Maybe I'm just really stupid. I thought it was a good deal for my uses. Okay, it's good that all the leftists are saying I'm not overspending. This is good. Mike, that lens might be too close for your setup. It's a full frame lens and you have an APS-C camera. Isn't this kind of wide though? Isn't that kind of wide? Like if I put it like, 3 feet in front of me. This seems expensive for something that doesn't add much utility to life. Have you seen my camera? It's dog shit. You don't have a full frame body? I have a 6600. It was a gift. I didn't pick it. Yeah, I did the math. Isn't that good? Doesn't that mean I'm right? Zonkras, like me and someone else did the math. Doesn't that mean that I'm on the right track? 24 times 1.5, isn't that correct? 32 millimeters will probably be too zoomed in. Just get the lens every other streamer has. They don't know what they're talking about. No one cares about your camera. Your message is what matters. The number one argument against me. The number one... Carter suggested this one, which was a good suggestion, is my second choice. Hold on. Let me show you what Carter suggested, which I thought was a really good suggestion. And I almost went with it, but the only reason I didn't is I felt like a prime lens is going to be better because of the light. I want to have the best possible picture, like, you know what I mean, like visual picture. Like, why am I not getting a prime? He suggested this one, I believe. Lighting is 100 times important. Okay, just so you guys don't understand, I'm using a $50 Logitech webcam I bought in 2019. This thing has like 8,000 hours through it. You should have just used an iPhone for a camera until you switched to this. No. Get the 2.8 over the 1.4. Isn't this like mean that it has a lot worse lighting? Go rent some lenses to try out. I could do that, I guess. Yeah, the f-stop and its field of focus. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is not a prime. I know it's not. I'm just showing you what Carter suggested. I have the 6600, chat. The 6600. Sony 6600. Does it have to be Sony branded? I don't care that much. It's more like I just don't want anything that's crap. Thank you, RK Monkey. Okay, well, this is why we talked to the chat. I was also looking at a Sigma lens. It just felt like a good fit for me anyway. You know what I mean? Might as well get a Sigma lens for a Sigma streamer. And sometimes people ask me, like, Mike, why are you such a success? And the answer is, it's called self-discipline. It's called consistency. It's called a proven track record of excellence. And then they're like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. I want to just randomly stream like bullshit with no plan at all different times of the day and night. And it's like, well, good luck. Consistency, where were you Monday? The only reason I wasn't here on Monday is beyond my control. I am not God. Unfortunately, I live in society, and when society conspires against me and I'm not able to stream, then I'm not able to stream. But you know what I did during that time? I spent that time looking at car insurance. Why did I do that, you guys may ask? Well, because this happened to me. My car insurance company got bought out, and the company that purchased them offered me coverage at more than twice the cost per month. You know what the worst part of this was? You know what the best part of this was? I got a car insurance company that was like literally a reciprocal like co-op. So the reciprocal co-op got bought out apparently. Very cool. But did I finish blueprints? What? I mean, what do you mean by finish? What do you mean by finish? Do you mean get to room 46? Do you mean all sanctum keys? Do you mean, what do you mean? I mean, it's pretty, I tweeted about it the other day. I think I'm trying to get the 20 dead end room thing. I think I tried that once or twice. I got pretty close. But I have this OCD thing where I want to fill out the entire fucking mansion every time. So you know how that goes. One day cursed dare mode. I think I could do that. I haven't tried to do any of those other like certain. I've tried to do it without cheating or like getting hints, and I'm doing pretty well. I've gotten pretty far. The thing I'm still looking for, I still haven't done yet, is the classroom run. I haven't done a classroom run yet. To get to like classroom 9 or whatever the fuck. I've read the like hints. That's what you have to do. And I think I found almost every room. I haven't found. There's a bunch of stuff I haven't found yet. I've got like 8 different things that I'm chasing. I just got an A- on my final test. Shit was so fucking annoying. Oh god. Yeah. It's called Blueprints. I would say honestly, is it an indie game, chat? Is Blueprints an indie game? Like, I was about to say it's an indie game, but then I was like, wait a minute, is it an indie game? You don't just want to say shit, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, chat? You don't just want to say shit. Blueprints is a, it's an indie game. It's like an indie roguelike puzzle game. And I would honestly say that it is one of the best video games I've ever seen. Legitimately, for what it is, it does it so well. There's even a logic room. Do you know how satisfying that is to me? That I step into a new mansion and it's just like, let's see how logical you are. And I just get them all right. I think I got one wrong because I misread something and I was tilted because it was my first one. I think I got my 40 logic games on like my 42nd day. Like every time the logic room pops up, I'm like, let's go. And of course it's 3 gems. Like who wants 2 keys? That's fucking embarrassing. If you're a 2 keyer, you're embarrassing. You're legitimately embarrassing. They get crazy at 100 plus. I mean, it's 3 statements. Gems only, security level high, power off. Oh, of course. Of course. I turned my security room to common. You know, you turn your utility room to common, security room to common. I was lucky because I got a wrench very early on in my game going in cold. Oh, no, I'm spoiling too much now. Okay, I'm spoiling too much. It's a very good game. Okay, what are we talking about today? Yes, politics. It's at 30 minutes into stream. Ethan Klein is going to debate Hassan. I'm not gonna backseat. I'm not gonna backseat Hassan. You know, in his preparation. That being said, you know what's happening, right? You know what's happening. DeepSeek upgrades its math-focused AI model Prover. According to the South China Morning Post, DeepSeek uploaded the latest version of Prover, version 2, to AI dev platform Hugging Face late on Wednesday. It appears to be built on top of the start of a V3 model, which has 671 billion parameters and adopts a mixture of experts architecture. Parameters roughly correspond to a model's proven problem-solving skills, while MOE breaks down tasks into subtasks and delegates them to smaller, specialized expert components. DeepSeek last updated Prover in August, describing it at the time as a custom, openly available AI model for formal theorem proofing and mathematical reasoning. In February, Reuters reported that DeepSeek was said to be considering raising outside funding for the first time. It's so Jover, dude. I don't think this is a good idea or going to pan out well because Ethan Klein is 1000% disingenuous, but I would love to be wrong. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you can debate someone who's bad faith. I legitimately don't think you can debate someone who's bad faith. If you go into a conversation with Ethan Klein going, I'm going to be given the opportunity to state my case in a fair manner, you're wrong. It's the same thing with like Destiny or any of these other people. If they decide they don't want to have a good faith debate with you, they're just going to spend their entire time trying to trigger you / trying to get you caught in some sort of quote, or, you know, they're just going to disrespect you and then to your face and see how you react, right? Like, that's literally the plan. There's no like, actually, according to this scholarship, they don't read books. You know, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I don't think you could win over his audience at this point. I think if you could win, everybody who could be won over is won over. There's nobody left but, you know, Destiny stalker fans and like just kind of dim bulb Ethan stans. Those are pretty rare, but Mohsen Madawi is free. I think he needs to get Ethan to define words: genocide, occupation, anti-Semitism, apartheid, Zionism, pro-Palestine. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're talking about something that's very important, which is if you're going to have to debate, if you're going to debate someone, you need to have stipulations. You need to have common definitions. You need to have a moderator. You need to have division of time. You need to have like rules of conduct. Like, other than that, it's not a debate, right? Like, and even with those things, it could still become a shit show. But just going in there and having a converse and yelling at each other is not a debate. It's an argument. And I don't think Ethan Klein is capable of a debate. What are they even debating? I don't know. That's the whole point.
Mac, we have breaking news right now. We're getting the GDP in for the first quarter, and it is a contraction, negative 0.3%. This is the first contraction since the first quarter of 2022. Markets this morning have reversed. The Dow Industrials right now down 115 points on this contraction of the GDP. First quarter GDP, first read. We've got more coming up in terms of advances, but the first read on the first quarter GDP is in fact a contraction, down 0.3% versus an estimate of up 0.3%. First contraction since first quarter 2022. Markets reversing, down at the lows of the day, down 139 right now on the Dow Industrials. President Trump is... Welcome back. We have breaking news.
It's so funny because this is a recession that is 100% caused by Republican policy, domestic and foreign. Incredible. All right, let's go back to celebrating the release. Can I just say one thing about Mohsen? Like, I like Mohsen a lot, but that's because he almost makes it, he almost bends, he tries so hard to be kind to the most piece of shit Zionist extremists who want to exterminate all Palestinians. He tries to talk to people that shouldn't be talked to. And one of the things is, like, I value him a lot because I couldn't do it. And I think it's very illuminating for people who are outside of this conversation to see the way he was treated. He's a literal pacifist who works overtime trying to make sure that nobody can interpret anything as anti-Semitic. He focuses so much on peace and negotiate. Like, this guy has no skeletons. Nothing negative he's ever said. He doesn't even lose his temper. And yet they still put him in prison because because they're genocidal. I haven't seen Thoreau's new documentary. I want to watch it with the stream. Did you see Barry Weistoff and Hassan? Oh, yeah. We're going to be talking about this. I was very proud to participate in this piece by the FP telling the truth about Hassan Piker. This is what I want you guys to understand about destiny in his orbit. They don't believe in anything. Okay. Also, if I were Hassan, I would literally call up my uncle and say, I'm never going to talk to you again unless you fire this bitch. Like this is ridiculous. You're now having an employee of your supposed progressive pack conspiring with Zionist fascists who have literally assassinated Palestinian artists in Gaza. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This person is a freak and a genocidal maniac, and they're working for TYT at this point. Now, listen, I'm not saying people should be fired for their opinions, but at a certain point, the opinion is so extreme, it becomes advocacy for genocide, and that crosses from an opinion to an actual action in the real world to kill people. And then she just, he is a Jew hater? Like, this is just slander. This is a fucking slander. And like Hassan, you know, I'm not here to tell him his business, you know, but this is absurd. I mean, this is fucking absurd. Who is brainwashing children to hate their own country on behalf of the world's dictators and terrorists. No Democrat in the country should work with him, and he certainly should not be invited to DNC events. This is all this is about. This is destiny and his stupid orbit. And these, the only reason Brianna Wu even became a Zionist, this is the thing that's so funny, is these stupid fucks are so jealous and disgusting. They're so fucking gross, man. At a certain point, like, this is children being exterminated. They're starving children to death. The fucking Amnesty International just said they're on the final stages of genocide yesterday. You are fucking insane. Like, you people are fucking insane. You are disgusting people. You are freaks. You're evil. You're pure fucking evil. And for what? You don't even make any money from this, Brianna Wu. You make nothing. You're not a content creator. No one watches your shit. You are fucking irrelevant, and you're doing this for nothing. I don't get it. You are irrelevant. It is crazy. It's fucking crazy. Like, you don't have an audience. Like, you are just a fucking psychopath. It's actually crazy. Like, I legitimately don't get it. One of the Democratic strategists key to get Piker more involved in the party was Brianna Wu. In the run-up to last year's presidential election, it was her job to reach young voters, and she's... Job with who? She just invented a job. It's just a grift off of Vosh and Destiny's dumb fuck audiences of dummies. Every person I don't like turns out to be pure fucking scum. I have the best fucking instincts. Holy shit. Doesn't always hit. Sometimes everyone makes mistakes, but Jesus Christ. So she began brainstorming ways to get him plugged in with Democratic campaigns. And the Democratic campaigns she wanted him plugged in with were right-wing. Like, she doesn't know anything. But her enthusiasm for Piker quickly faded when she saw him broadcast terrorist propaganda on his Twitch live stream. Like, this is legitimately, these people are baby-brained. Like, Destiny's audience are literally fucking baby-brained. They think, and I don't know, you know, I've always been against this platforming argument, to be honest with you, chat. For the most part, the idea that, oh, you platformed something, therefore you helped it. I think that only is true if you're positively platforming something or boosting someone who has literally no following into a major following because of the polarization, right? Because if you have a large audience, there's a certain number of people who hate you because they're insane. And, you know, if you say someone's bad, they'll just support them just to get at you. This is a phenomenon that we understand well in politics. There's love money and there's hate money, right? Imagine working with people who want to literally get your nephew declared a terrorist as they defend a genocide. Yes, they want him in, they want us in prison. You have to understand them. They want to kill us. This is the thing about Destiny and Brianna Wu. They're not just people who disagree with me and Hassan. They've literally said they want to kill us. They have doxed us intentionally. Now, I personally I always found them, honestly, and their audiences laughably pathetic, and I never felt that threatened by it. And honestly, come walk down, come swing by. You know, I would love the excuse, okay? But that is not it. But if I found a relative was like working with them, that would be fucking insane. It's like, it's actually insane. Like, this is honest to God why I hate Jank. Like, I used to be a huge TYT defender. I gave them way more benefit of the doubt than they deserved. And these fucking scumbags are so jealous of their nephew. What a pathetic fucking loser, by the way. Instead of just admitting he was wrong about Hassan and wrong to fire him over the dumb 9/11 comment, which, by the way, Hassan was not saying America should be terrorist attacked. He was saying he was disgusted by Republicans who were like cheering on the Iraq war and the shit we've done in the Middle East. And he said, and he was basically explaining what blowback is, but he got heated. He wasn't saying, yeah, it's good Americans die. I mean, nobody believes that unless you're a liar or you're stupid. I mean, this is actually so disgusting. Like, Brianna Wu is foul. And, you know, the free press is a Republican shit. It's Republican shit. It is right-wing shit. But these Destiny fucking orbiters believe in fucking nothing. So they'll work with Tom Cotton. They'll work with Barry Weiss. They'll work with Benjamin Netanyahu. There's literally nothing they won't do to try to hurt Hassan. You are a fucking freak. You're an obsessive. You're a weirdo. You're a fucking weirdo. You're an evil person. You're a fucking evil person. And every single one of these people that are our enemies chose to be. It's not like Hassan and I made these people our enemies. It's not like we did something to these people to hurt them. They just chose to become our enemy out of narcissistic rage and jealousy. These fucking pathetic fucking losers. It's actually so fucking shameful. You guys are there's no other word for it but pathetic. It is the most embarrassing. You're a failure in every measurable way, you fucking loser. Holy shit. Can you imagine being a Destiny orbiter? Like, it's just pathetic. Holy fuck, it's pathetic. Yeah, I'm so mad, Ember Root. I'm so mad. I'm more just disgusted than mad. Holy shit. We Americans, we don't think that doubly. It was not a lot more you can't never understand with your American brain. I'm so happy liberals won. Yeah. Just like you were happy when Starmer won, and now they're going to get reform. And oh, you don't know who Starmer is. Never mind. So Brianna is she's still working with Jank Uger. What do I want to say here? If you're still in a way associated with TYT at this point, maybe I should attack TYT. Maybe I should do it this way. Oh, fuck. What did I just type? I can't type. Attacking TYT is not left bashing. Yeah, but my main goal right now is to get her fired. My main goal is to get her fired. You know, like it's like when you're looking at somebody, like you should have a goal, right? You should always have a goal in your actions. This isn't something that you should do. This is just good general life advice. When you do something, you should have a goal. You know, like try to put a certain like half step before you commit some sort of action. Go like, okay, what am I doing here? Now I break this rule all the time, but it's a useful rubric for your actions in the future. It's like, what am I doing here? You know, what am I trying to accomplish? And what I would like to have happen is her be fired. Wait, what happened? Okay, there we go. She suddenly disliked him when he did terrorist propaganda and also his speaking to children. I mean, it's just absolutely nonsense. The idea that Twitch is just kids, therefore we should be able to censor the content on it, is what right-wingers have been saying since from the beginning. Twitch is fucking dog shit. It's be like, oh, you can't have a woman in a bikini because kids are on here. And it's like, no, it's not. There's multiple age gates on Twitch. There's multiple ways of determining, like, and honestly, like, the kind of, like, they just lie. They just blatantly lie to try to create this myth. Meanwhile, you know, we have actual clips of Ethan Klein being sexual in front of children. Like, there's like, oh, hypothetical children are watching this multiple age-gated content that's for adults, and that's we should censor therefore their content because they're not, because apparently the reason why they have to say to children is, if I'm an adult and I see an Al-Qaeda video, am I going to join Al-Qaeda? If I'm an adult and I see a Nazi video, is that going to make me a Nazi? Like, the idea that that is the case is dumb as fuck. But right-wingers, the reason why they say that shit is because everybody hates Al-Qaeda. Everybody hates Nazis who's normal. But if you see a left-wing video, you're going to agree with it. You're going to see that and you're going to agree with it. So to justify censoring the left, they have to use these boogeymen on the right, which have absolutely no play to, like, regular people. That's what this is really about. Bro, go to Strawberry Tabby right now. She's in a bikini. I don't care, but look at her. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? Have you been on Twitter for 5 minutes? You get way more. You get pornography on there. You go on Instagram. There's way more risque shit than anything you'll find on Twitch. Who gives a fuck? There's millions of free porn sites. Who gives a shit? With my ongoing vocal issues and multiple surgeries this summer, I'm taking step back as ED of Rebellion Pack and going on a health leave. Rebellion Pack hasn't issued a single press release, ad, or really done anything for years. What did you step back from aside from your own personal slush fund? Yeah, what exactly do they do except steal money from their audience? Fucking pathetic, disgusting, fucking ugh. These people disgust me. Yeah, I mean, WAP, you're right. A child is not going to be entertained or interested in Hassan's content. It's for adults. I have a no persons under 18 rule in my community. If you're under 18, you're not allowed to be here. Can I now talk about politics like an adult? Is it okay for me to now talk to adults about politics like an adult? You fucking baby.
Every great venture capitalist in the last 70 years has missed most of the great companies of his generation, right? Like, so the great VCs have a success, record of getting, I don't know, 2 out of 10 or something of the great companies of the decade, right? And so, if it was a science, you could eventually have somebody who just like dials it in and gets 8
Have you considered it's just luck, you dumb cone-headed fuck?
out of 10, but in the real world, it's not like that. It's just you're in the fluke business, and so there's an intangibility to it. There's a taste aspect, the human relationship aspect, the psychology. By the way, a lot of it is psychological analysis, like who are these people, how do they react under pressure, how do you keep them from falling apart, how do you keep them going crazy, how do you keep them going crazy?
Yeah, I did see that Zoran's first on the ballot.
Yourself, you end up being a psychologist half the time. And so like it is possible, I don't want to be definitive, but like it's possible that is quite literally timeless. And when the AIs are doing everything else, like that may be one of the last remaining fields that people are still doing.
I'm trying not to come to the conclusions that I came to 6 months ago. Like, in my mind, I came to some conclusions 6 months ago, and I haven't been able to express them. And I'm not going to express those conclusions. But I've come to these privately held conclusions. And it's like, what I'm wrestling with is, it's like, okay, you have these privately held conclusions. What should you do about it? All right, so one of the videos I wanted to watch with since all of you guys have come in here, one of the videos that I just saw drop, which I wanted to make, but since it's been made, I'm going to watch it instead. And this is the problem. Like, a lot of people talk about Hamas and the Palestinian resistance and the Islamic right-wing Palestinian resistance groups. And that, you know, I recently saw one of the worst tweeters I've ever seen who constantly posts FBI shit. It's like, leftists are anti-religion. It's so blah, 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 blah. Oh, man, you guys, like, why hasn't the left done this and that, you know, resistance? It's the Islamic right wing. What does that say about the left? Blah, blah. Because the person's a dumb fuck who doesn't read. All right? They're just a Canadian fucking psyop, and they post nothing. They're stupid as fuck. And so I was so happy to see somebody talking about the Palestinian left, which over the last few years has been more and more hollowed out for a variety of reasons. One of them is the CIA and Israel prop up the Islamist right, as does American Gulf state allies, because they understand one thing, and one thing's very important. If your group is doing shit, regular people who agree with the overall cause of liberation are going to join your group because it's the group doing things. So if you have a situation of decolonial struggle and your main goal is to destroy the left, which is America's main foreign policy goal, I want you guys to understand something. And this is something that is very pithy, so it's easy to understand. The main foreign policy goal of the United States and the West in general is to destroy the left. That's it. All right? Protect the world for the global capitalist incumbents by destroying the left everywhere they can. That is it. Okay? And they do so by all of the most evil organizations in the world were almost certainly created by the United States of America or supported. My favorite example of this is Pol Pot, which is one of the examples people use about why communism is bad. And it's like Pol Pot was literally defeated by the Vietnamese communists and had the aid and diplomatic support of the United States.
Among the groups fighting against Israel's ongoing genocide on Palestine is one that leftists tend to relate to most, but also know very little about it. Today, a massacre. 30,000 Palestinians forced onto the roads, marching for 3 days without food or water, driven from their homes by Zionist forces, losing everything. Witnessing this horror that led to his sister's death was a young, previously apolitical medical student. Years later, he remembered what became known as the Lida Death March. The Israelis came to Lida and forced us to flee. It is a picture that does not leave my mind and that I will never forget. 30,000 people walking, crying, screaming with terror. This trauma would fuel his lifelong quest for Palestinian liberation. That young medical student was George Habash, also known as El Hakim, future doctor and first General Secretary of Al-Jabha Al-Shabiya Li-Tahrir Filastin, in English, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. In the last video, we introduced a faction which would come to be the largest force in Palestinian resistance, Fatah, with the well-known Yasser Arafat as its leader. Disappointed by the Arab failure to defend the Zionist takeover of Palestine during the Nakba, Fatah focused on independent Palestinian action for liberation. Its main competitor in the mid-60s was the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, which was created by the Arab states and was to a great extent under its influence. You can watch that video after you finish this one, but keep in mind that that information is key if you want to understand the decisions of the PFLP in the next videos, as it will become Arafat's chief Palestinian opponent. The people around Habash, who eventually founded the PFLP, also called the Front, were first part of another important organization alongside Fatah, which we have to talk about first. After being forced to live in exile as a refugee, George Habash ended up at the American University of Beirut, AUB, a hub of intellectual ferment. Here, influenced by professors preaching Arab unity and progress, and surrounded by others who shared the scars of 48, the seeds were sown. Here, he met people like Wadi Haddad, another Palestinian Christian like Habash, whose family fled Safat in 48. Haddad also studied medicine at UAB. Together, they founded the Arab Nationalist Movement, the ANM, around 1951. The ANM
One of the main, like, this is something I talk about a lot, but it's pretty much never spoken about by people who talk about the Middle East, is basically after World War I and World War II, and there was a decolonial movement in the Arab world. There was a effort to throw off all of the artificial colonial borders. Like, Africa and the Middle East were carved up by European powers into these artificial states that have no connection to any national identities or religions or anything. They were just created by these European powers for the purpose of controlling the resources and people of these regions. Okay. And one of the strongest resistance movements to that was called the Pan-Arab Nationalist Movement. Basically the idea that there should be an Arab nation state. Now that seems impossible, right? You know, people have created identities around being Saudi or Iraqi or Kuwaiti or Lebanese or you know, Palestinian or Egyptian or whatever. Like these national identities, these imposed national identities have firmed up. The idea of an Arab superstate is just laughably not going to happen. Okay. Best case scenario is an EU-like model for Arab states, which I don't see that actually being successful. And here's the thing about this is this pan-Arab nationalist state, if it existed and it had a significant portion of Arabs, it would be a world superpower. It would be like, or at least it would be like India. It would be like China. It would be like the European Union. And, you know, it would have a multi-trillion-dollar economy. It would be in the G8. You know, it would be incredibly important and powerful. And so it has always been a primary goal of the United States and Europe to keep the Middle East and the Arab populations divided and under puppet regimes. All right. Like, so the Pan-Arab Nationalist Movement has always been the CIA has a Pan-Arab desk dedicated to killing the people that advocate for this. Like, that's literally true.
The ANM's initial goal was clear: Palestine's liberation. But crucially, they saw this as achievable only after uniting Arab nations and freeing them from Western colonial control. So these guys weren't short on ambition. As Haddad famously told recruits, the road to Tel Aviv passes through Damascus, Baghdad, Amman, and Cairo. This was Pan-Arabism, heavily influenced by the rising star of Egypt's Jamal Abdel Nasser. Nasser's anti-Western stance, his nationalization of the Suez Canal, his support for Algeria's liberation struggle resonated deeply with the ANM.
That probably goes to say for Pan-African and Pan-American. Oh yeah, the Latin American, the Bolivarian movements as well have also been countered. Pan-Arab, Pan-African, African Union, things like that. That has always also been countered by the United States. The United States has been very eager to avoid a Bolivarian unity or a Pan-African unity. And this is what's you have to understand that Americans don't care about any of this shit, but this is why these places are poor. Because the United States of America does not allow them to develop. It doesn't allow them to create firm and robust developmental institutions, and it doesn't allow them to form into political blocks of mutual benefit. It's literally not allowed and anybody who tries to advocate for this shit gets murked by the CIA or the French. And this is what is, Americans and Westerners, they deny this. And when you ask them about what they think the reasons are behind the problems in Africa or Latin America or the Middle East, their answer is racism. Their answer is that these people are inferior. That is the average American liberal. That is the average American foreign policy person. And, the most evil people at the CIA, they know racism isn't real, right? This is the thing that you guys don't understand, is that racism is the lie you tell the dopes so they support a policy. The people at the CIA are not fucking racist. They understand that they have to hold these people down because they're equal. So they need to do every tactic possible to keep them disempowered and divided. They're not confused. They're nihilists. And like, this is, that is the most frustrating part about humanity is Western powers are so malicious. And I know that you're not malicious. I know that you and I don't want this to be true. I don't want to vote for this, but this is the only thing you can't vote against. Look at what our position on Israel. If you were anti what we're doing in Israel, who did you vote for? There's nobody on the ballot. It's not a choice you can make. What a democracy we have. You mean I couldn't vote against supporting a genocide? What a democracy we have. In fact, people told me a bad person for saying, hey, I should have an anti-genocide vote choice. And Americans are perfectly comfortable with seeing a live stream genocide and telling you to ignore it. And that is the moral choice. Crazy.
They hitched their wagon to the star, believing Arab unity under his leadership was the prerequisite for confronting the Zionist entity. A short note on the emergence of Arab nationalism, since this is a very important concept here. The development of modern Arab history was characterized by a dominant merchant character, with the exception of peasant-based Egypt. Long-distance trade facilitated that Arabic was homogenized throughout the majority Sunni Islamic region, isolating distinct agricultural regions, often Berber and Shiite. Islamic law, for instance, reflects this merchant-centric nature. This is in contrast to Europe's feudal, peasant-based structure that contributed to diversification into nations and faster capitalist development. This structure was fragile, collapsing when trade routes shifted away, and hindered the emergence of capitalism in the Arab world, until forced to integrate by imperialism. Imperialism subordinated these economies and created a dependent local capitalist class. The capitalists aspiring to independent industrialization, the national bourgeoisie, were weak and hindered in their development, often overshadowed by collaborator agrarian elements content with the status quo. This led to unstable political parties heavily influenced by the petty bourgeoisie, and ultimately the rise of Nasserism, where the state substituted for the weak private bourgeoisie. From the beginning, the struggle against Zionism meant struggle against colonialism and imperialism, and the Palestinian question became the central test for the Arab leadership's anti-imperialist credentials. This was the test which first broke the collaborator capitalist parties and which will soon break the new ones. In South Lebanon, the Arab nationalist movement recruited young, sharp intellectuals like Mohsen Ibrahim, whose grasp of theory would later steer the movement decisively towards Marxism. Other key figures soon joined. One certain brilliant writer and future PFLP spokesman was recruited by Habash in Damascus in 1953. His name, Ghassan Kanafani. Another was a certain AUB student who had witnessed her family being forcibly displaced and who joined the A&M at age 15.
Okay, Monkey, we're talking about something else right now. You're kind of derailing a little bit.
She also wanted to join its military arm, but wasn't allowed to do so. Yet. The A&M wasn't just talk. They even organized resistance against UN resettlement camps, seeing them as attempts to liquidate the Palestinian cause, and built clandestine cells in refugee camps, especially among UNRWA teachers. One such teacher would later join the PFLP. A certain Ahmad Saadat. He will also make history within the front. During the 1958 Lebanon crisis, when pro-Western Maronite Christian President Shamoun...
This is who Loner Box is related to, right? So like this, if you're ever like, why is Loner Box so pro-Israeli genocide? That's what you need to. This is where you need to come from. That's what you need to understand.
Resisted joining Nasser's United Arab Republic and called in American troops under the Eisenhower Doctrine.
So the United Arab Republic was an abortive attempt to create a pan-Arab state. Egypt and Syria joined into one country. And the goal was to create a like cascade where more Arab countries would join together into one Arabia, or as they called it, the United Arab Republic. There is a different world where there is a large Arab superstate and it is a world power. And in that world, Israel does not exist.
Nasser's United Arab Republic and called in American troops under the Eisenhower Doctrine. A&M members like Habash, Ibrahim, and a certain Hawatmeh were smuggling weapons and fighting Shamoun, supporting more progressive figures. It's not the last time we would see a progressive alliance between Palestinian and Lebanese forces, but more on this in the next video. Seeing US Marines land in Beirut, naked gunboat diplomacy cemented their view of American imperialism as the primary enemy of the Arab people, propping up reactionary regimes and the Zionist state. The people around Ibrahim began questioning the simple pan-Arab formula, arguing that social and economic structures and the class struggle were key. They saw the need for social revolution as interlinked with national liberation. By 1964, splits emerged between those wanting closer ties to Nasser versus those largely disillusioned after the Syria-Egypt-UAR split, demanding a focus on Palestine and independent action. Habash, trying to hold things together, agreed to form an autonomous Palestinian branch.
Oh, there's the same thing with the Pan-Caribbean movement. That's another thing the U.S. has stopped. Basically, the United States of America prevents any kind of unification movements in colonial regions. So whether it's the Caribbean, whether it is Central America, you know, like the Panama is a perfect example. Panama was part of Colombia, and then we just created Panama, a country. We set up a fake revolutionary movement just so we could steal the isthmus to build the Panama Canal, which we then took as American territory. Like, the United States of America is a malicious force and they keep most of America under its thumb. The more the United States withdraws from the world, the better things are going to be. You need to understand. Hey, sad girl, what's up? This is exactly what you need to understand. It's not that America is bad. Americans are great. It is our government and our foreign policy which is malicious and evil, and it serves the interests of a capitalist class that, by the way, they don't even make that much money. This is a thing that's fucking crazy, is that the evil we're doing, like for these oil companies or these diamond companies or whatever the fuck, they barely make anything. It's a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of our GDP. They make fucking nothing, and they're keeping billions of people in poverty and misery and repressed, underdeveloped. It's fucking madness. Let me see if I can find a clip. Michael Parenti explained it really, really, really well.
Nature of capitalism that it must expand. A no-growth capitalism, as some of our more naive ecologists have argued for, is American inexorable expansion. We had to go national. Corporate consumption. Nature of capitalism that it must expand. A no-growth capitalism, as some of our more naive ecologists have argued for, is a contradiction, unless you can mix it with labor to yet increase your wealth further. And of course, you use large sums of it for personal consumption and for political power and for control of your culture and for that wonderful, good, happy life that you so like. Now, that nature of expansion really affects the nature of, it's an important imperative, because it means capitalism also can never stay home. It goes abroad. If you ever saw the film Controlling Interest, there's a corporate president who says, those corporations that stayed regional in New England years ago and decided not to go national, we can't even remember their names. They died. We had to go national. And those of us who are now national know we have to go international. We have to invest abroad. So one of the laws of capitalist motion and development is this inexorable expansion. And that means expansion into an expropriation of the third world. A process that's been going on for about 400 years, perpetrated by the Portuguese, the Spaniards, the Dutch, the Belgians, the French, the English, and most recently, most successfully, most impressively, by the Americans. That is by the ruling classes of these countries, not by the ordinary people. The ordinary people simply paid the costs of empire. The ordinary people simply sent their sons off to die on the plains of India or in the jungles of...
I know it's almost blasphemous, but if you want to have an audio and color corrected version of this, I personally don't like that it's yellow. There's this weird thing that happens with leftists where, and I don't know if what the cause is. It's like people who use, like Marxist, lectures, and they're like, these are the perfect inalterable words of Marx, as if they were like from God or something. And I think of Marx, and I think of our socialist forebears, like I think of, the way physics developed, right? Like, do you get what I mean? I'll give you an example of what I mean. It's like Isaac Newton. That's a perfect example of what I mean. Okay. Isaac Newton is probably the smartest man who ever lived as in physics. He developed calculus so he could better understand Newtonian laws of motion and gravitation, right? And for most of history, Newtonian physics was incredibly useful and practical. But once humanity got to a certain point, we started to see the holes and the gaps in Newtonian physics, and that it wasn't actually correct. And so that's when Einstein rose up and was able to take the insights that we had gleaned from the past and revise it with the theory of general and special relativity. And he opened up our understanding, and he corrected the microscopic errors that didn't even become apparent until we got to a certain level of development. And then we said, okay, Newtonian physics was useful, but it wasn't completely correct. And so we built on top of it. And that's how I see socialism, right? That's how I see socialism. Call me what you will. Is I look at Marx as one of the most important thinkers on capitalism and on history that has ever lived. And all the stuff that is derived from that has changed our understanding of humanity and of economics in the world. But he didn't have the final answers. And so I don't know if you call it a revision or just a derivation. We need to come up with more shit. We need to explain things. We need to study things more. And I really hate a doctrinaire mentality where you only stick to the past texts in a kind of pseudo-religious way. And it's like, we don't know the path beyond capitalism yet. He set us on the course. It's up to us to, why is China becoming so powerful? Because the Communist Party of China came up with a strategy of bringing in foreign capital and expertise to develop the country, and then they built the institutions to prevent over-exploitation becoming permanent. They were siphoning off expertise, they were siphoning off money, and they were keeping it in China, and they were building their infrastructure, they were building their institutions, they were fighting the corruption, they were maintaining political control for a socialist party, and now they're the world superpower. Now they have more manufacturing capacity than the Western world ever had at its height combined. If you combine all of Europe and all of America at their absolute height, it cannot compare to what China has accomplished today as far as productive capability. That is the reality. Now, are they at the end stage of full development? No. And once you start seeing development through the lens of exploitation and going, a country is not developed until they have the institutions to prevent over-exploitation, then you start to see why these countries are falling behind, because no one is trying to do that. Nobody is trying to make more of the wealth of the resources produced stick to the hands of the people that produce it. That is development. When a miner goes into a gold mine and he gets 1% of what he produced versus a miner goes into a gold mine and gets 10% of what he produces, that's the difference between abject poverty and middle class stability and wealth. Nothing changed about the coal mines of America except that the coal miners got paid more and the technology improved and their lives were valued. And when the miners, M-I-N-O-R, Ethan Klein and Destiny and Vaush, calm down. I'm not talking about your favorite topic. I'm talking about the M-I-N-E-R, not M-I-N-O-R. I'm talking about the people who go underneath the ground and dig up shit. Okay? And when miners were able to get their lives valued, that's when companies were forced to invest in safety and in machinery and in bracing for the walls. One of the things I really love about Pennsylvania are there's these labor museums, and they go into how before the unions, when you were injured in a mine because of, say, a slate fall, they would say it was your fault. No workers' compensation, no redevelopment of the mine to make it safer. They would just say, you can't mine coal, you're not getting paid, you're fired. It wasn't until labor unions came along that they developed mine engineering beyond the low level that it really was in the early 19th and 20th century. It required organized labor to actually develop capital for themselves. Capitalists are bad at capitalism. That's why the Chinese Communist Party is the fastest developing society in history, because they didn't have capitalists running it.
The A&M. But he remained cautious about independent Palestinian military action. They avoided large attacks on Israel because they didn't want to force Egypt's leader, Nasser, into fighting Israel too soon. Kanafani captured this tightrope walk when he said that Palestinian action should be, quote, above zero but below entanglement. At this point, the A&M opposed the notion of a Palestinian entity, fearing that it would make Arab states not care about it anymore. However, as they watched Fatah gain traction, they felt the pressure from their own impatient base. Then came June 1967, Al-Naqsa, a catastrophe that dwarfed even the Nakba in many ways. The Arab armies were shattered, the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, Golan Heights, lost. Nasserism lay exposed and humiliated. This defeat was the ultimate catalyst. It proved in blood and fire.
Will you, little bigot, please pipe down a stop being a sock dem? This motherfucker thinks I'm a sock dem. That's funny. That's actually funny. Everyone just, every leftist, when they're trying to do infighting, calls everyone else a social democrat. MLs are social democrats. Democratic socialists are social democrats. Social democrats are social democrats. Everybody just points at each other that everyone's a social democrat. Wait, you're not a sock dem? I've been fooled. LOL. I mean, let me explain it to you this way. Marx talked about this before, so and Lenin especially. There is a difference. Actually, I think Lenin is the best exponent of this. There are legal Marxists and there are illegal Marxists. I am a legal Marxist.
Fire, the failure of the Arab nationalist leadership, as the A&M itself admitted in stark self-criticism shortly after. The path forward had to be different.
Sock that equals democratic socialist? No, it means social democrat. Social democrat. These are all like weird online only debates, which obscure rather than clarify.
While Fatah escalated its operations, the A&M talked to other groups like Ahmad Jibril's Palestine Liberation Front to unite it with its Palestinian branch. Fatah and Jibril will be the only ones to reap the credit, and that will finish us. Finally,
this is a very important thing. We need to back up.
When he said that Palestinian action should be, quote, above zero but below entanglement. At this point, the A&M opposed the notion of a Palestinian entity, fearing that it would make Arab states not care about it anymore. However, as they watched Fatah gain traction, they felt the pressure from their own impatient base. Then came June 1967, Al-Naqsa, a catastrophe that dwarfed even the Nakba in many ways. The Arab armies were shattered, the West Bank, Gaza, Sinai, Golan Heights, lost. Nasserism lay exposed and humiliated. This defeat was the ultimate catalyst. It proved, in blood and fire, the failure of the Arab nationalist leadership, as the A&M itself admitted in stark self-criticism shortly after. The path forward had to be different. While Fatah escalated its operations, the A&M talked to other groups like Ahmad Jibril's Palestine Liberation Front to unite it with its Palestinian branch. Fatah and Jibril will be the only ones to reap the credit, and that will finish us. Finally, the A&M's Palestine branch, Jibril's PLF, and other small factions decided to unite and announce their presence with a bang. Starting with an attack on Ben Gurion Airport on December 11, 1967, the decision was announced from Beirut. A new front had been forged in the fires of defeat and disillusionment. A front committed not just to guerrilla warfare, but increasingly to a Marxist-Leninist analysis of the struggle against Zionism, imperialism, and Arab reaction. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine was born. One crucial
No problem. You are a bigot and face the same fate. You're not really making any argument about why I'm a bigot. Can you give me an example of why I'm a bigot? Who would you say is your most formative political leader?
difference to Fatah was that the PFLP connected Palestinian liberation to the class struggles in surrounding Arab states, while Fatah cared less about what's happening outside Palestine. Later in this series, we will see the important consequences of this. Another key
Dem-Soc was Democratic Socialist. That's what it is. Social Democrat is Soc-Dem. Dem-Soc is Democratic Socialist.
The difference was that Fatah operated as a broad-based movement, encompassing diverse ideologies without a clear, unified ideological framework for liberation. Instead, it prioritized concrete, day-to-day practice to defeat the enemy. an approach that would also carry ramifications. While the front was much more ideologically homogeneous, it also had a front character, as its name implied, encompassing various groups that kept their individual leadership at the time. One branch carried a similar name to Hamas's military arm today, named after famous martyr Izz-al-Din al-Qassam. Naming military brigades after martyrs is a common thing in Palestine. The PFLP will do the same. At the beginning, however, the front's focus wasn't coherently Marxist-Leninist. But with the failure of the Six-Day War, there came a crucial shift. The bourgeois leaders disappointed, while the lower classes displayed much more determination in pushing national liberation forward, as was the case in many other liberation struggles. The front now more clearly envisioned a Palestinian-led peasants on the blazing earth, the poor and oppressed in our cities, villages and the miserable camps, to liberate the homeland instead of reliance on the Arab states, which could not be trusted. Liberating Palestine wasn't just part of a wider Arab revolution, it was now seen as a precondition for it. The fight over occupied Palestine is a, quote, active part of the march of the Arab Revolution against world imperialism and its agents' forces. The 67 defeat also brought a sobering reality check. Gone was the unrealistic talk of swift victory that preceded the war. The PFLP emphasized a long-term and bitter struggle instead of the short-term military adventure of the Arab states. This shift showed the growing influence of Chairman Mao's thought, the idea of the protracted People's War. Trying to defeat Israel with conventional militaries is a bourgeois illusion. Along came the realization that the defeat exposed a complex web of colonial and class-based alliances connecting the US, Israel, and reactionary Arab governments. This was also the period where revolutionaries broke with many big established communist parties that had ossified into reformism and a reliance on peaceful means. Inspired by China's Cultural Revolution and the events that led to the strikes of May '68 in France. It's also where the Sino-Soviet split reached its high point. The USSR supported the general Arab cause against Israel primarily through its relationships with key Arab states like Egypt. But it viewed the stability of these states as paramount for its influence in the Middle East, and thus were initially critical of the, quote, mythical diversionary groups, since these provoked Israeli retaliation prematurely and were supposedly orchestrated, quote, by well-known services or agencies of these services for provocation purposes. According to Arafat, it wasn't until 1970 that Soviet leaders called the guerrilla fighters a progressive and patriotic liberation movement. Mao's China had broken with the Soviet Union, partly because of the latter's shift toward the so-called peaceful coexistence policy, which it labeled as revisionism and a betrayal of revolutionary principles. While China would become the biggest supporter of Fatah, it also supported the front, while being much less disturbed by its guerrilla actions. Today, China doesn't arm or train any resistance factions, but is Israel's second-largest trading partner. Arafat said the People's Republic of China was, quote, the biggest influence in supporting our revolution and strengthening its perseverance. And George Habash insisted, quote, our best friend is China. China, being a champion of global anti-colonial and anti-imperialist movements, had an effect on the front's outlook and gradual adoption of Marxism. But there was another crucial factor in this shift, one which was internal. This intense period also brought internal fractures, ideological and generational schisms that were present before '67, now cracked open. In March 1968, front leader Habash was arrested in Syria. He was accused of involvement in destroying a pipeline, though suspicions of plotting a coup against the Syrian government also lingered. Habash's charisma had been a unifying force. His absence left a vacuum, allowing tensions to escalate. A group around often non-Palestinian members like Nayef Hawatmeh and Muhsin Ibrahim were involved with the newspaper Al-Hurriya. These former A&M cadres grew louder in their criticism of the older PFLP leadership, whom they saw as resistant to a full embrace of Marxist-Leninist class analysis and too supportive of Arab nationalist leaders. At the PFLP conference in August 1968, The Hurriya group pushed the PFLP to issue a basic political statement, which identified Arab governments like Egypt and Syria as petty bourgeois failures. This infuriated.
Oh, I definitely go with the Mao side of the Sino-Soviet split. Mao was clearly right. The Soviet Union was delusional.
Nasser, who then cut off PFLP funding. Ahmad Jibril, acting leader during Habash's imprisonment and more conservative, couldn't hold the factions together. He ultimately left with his followers in October 1968. Syria, which supported him, also pushed for this split. He disagreed with the Marxist-Leninist direction the PFLP was taking under the leadership of Habash. Hawatmeh annoyed him especially. Jibril favored a more militaristic and less ideologically driven approach to the Palestinian struggle, and formed the PFLP General Command. This faction will become very important later. So the front was mired in splits and contradictions, which made it even harder to catch up to Fatah. A month later, Habash escaped from prison. The escape was famously organized by fellow front leader Haddad, reportedly involving PFLP commandos disguising themselves as Syrian military police. The other front members, meanwhile, called the Hurriya group petty bourgeois and criticized its approach as dogmatic and immature. The adolescent cafe intellectuals were disconnected from Palestinian reality and the guerrilla struggle. Kanafani would speak of, quote, the petty bourgeois intellectuals who are short-tempered and quick to fatigue, who always are in a hurry, proceed along the path of struggle like locusts.
Let's finish the quote. They never stop arbitrarily and purposely jumping around and using all manner of colloquial conventions and slogans to open the door to one stage and shut the door to another under the weight of emotional and subjective assessments made outside the deeper context of a slow but steady shift in the balance of power in the favor of the revolution's forces.
After exchanging the petty bourgeoisie accusations, the split manifested just before the front's February 1969 conference. Hawatmeh and the Hurriya group broke away, forming the Popular Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PDFLP, later renamed and better known as the DFLP. Just before that, Ibrahim broke away along with the Lebanese branch of the A&M as well, forming an independent Lebanese socialist organization. We will come back to this one later in the series.
Isn't this a bummer?
Along with the DFLP, it now shared editorial control of Al Hurriya magazine, making the PFLP start a new one, Al Hadaf, with Ghassan Kanafani as the editor-in-chief. During the same conference, the PFLP argued that it was the true representative of the proletariat in the refugee camps and officially adopted Marxism-Leninism.
Are there wildfires in Israel right now?
As the front's political ideology. Habash later lamented the inability to resolve these differences internally. Those two factions would later try to reunite at various points, but in the meantime, the differences were not insignificant, and Hawatmeh will soon make important maneuvers at key political moments of the resistance. But more on that in the next part. People tend to draw hasty conclusions from the split of a very young movement, still struggling with the complex contradictions involved in Palestinian and Arab class relations and the liberation struggle. From Mao's thought, the PFLP adopted the concept of primary and secondary contradictions to formulate its strategy.
The question of Palestine is the question of a contradiction, of a clashing contradiction between the national liberation movement of the Arabs, headed by the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, and between imperialism in this part of the world, headed by the Zionist movement.
The primary effort was national liberation, with the internal class struggle being shaped by this overarching contradiction between imperialism, Zionism, and the Palestinian people. This is why solid national unity of resistance forces is the first task in national liberation. This means that contradictions between the factions are secondary, and that prioritizing those will lead to a weakening of the resistance and to loss of support in the population, since
That's why you see a lot of so-called liberal Zionists supporting Benjamin Netanyahu's genocidal Gaza blockade. Because these left-wing Zionists see that the advancement of Israel as a state is more important than the advancement of liberalism. And that's honestly their priority.
First and foremost, desires liberation from foreign domination. As Marx and Engels explained in the case of 19th century Poland, as long as a viable people is held in bondage by a foreign conqueror, it necessarily directs all its strength, all its efforts, all its energy against the external enemy. Thus, its inner life remains paralyzed, and it remains incapable of working for social emancipation. Engels expressed this more plainly in a letter to Karl Kautsky, quote, "Now for a great people, it is historically impossible to even seriously discuss any internal issues as long as national independence is lacking. Polish socialists who do not place the liberation of the country at the forefront of their program seem to me like German socialists who would not first demand the abolition of the anti-socialist law. In order to be able to fight, one must first have ground to stand on, air, light, and elbow room. Otherwise, it's all just empty talk." Now, in the case of Palestine, the air, light, and elbow room is as tight as it gets. This does not mean, however, that the secondary contradictions are not important, but that they are best served by tackling them through the lens of the main contradiction, which then allows another secondary contradiction to become the primary one. Pushing the class struggle forward is best achieved through participating in national liberation, so to speak. But here comes the problem, and possibly the most important dilemma of the front throughout the coming years. What if the leading force appears to sell out the cause and serve Israeli interests? How to deal with growing opportunism within your own ranks while following the task of national unity? The PFLP developed a class analysis based on their concrete reality. As a people suffering from the special, overwhelming condition of settler colonialism, they saw the destitute Palestinian refugees residing in camps throughout the region as the core of the proletariat. Importantly, in contrast to the Hurriya group, they also included sections of the Palestinian petite bourgeoisie, educated professionals who had lost their traditional status due to occupation and exile, arguing these were uniquely revolutionary compared to their counterparts elsewhere. In this book, the authors use reductive labels like Stalinist and mechanistic to categorize diverse Palestinian revolutionary groups for their alliance with some Arab states. An examination of the facts reveals that the front was well aware of the dangers of these alliances, in fact more so than some Western booksellers. Habash had been literally jailed by Syria. By not even looking at the concrete history and the reasons for making these alliances, such criticism fails to explain anything. Also very common is the accusation that the Palestinian left was too nationalistic and should have done more outreach to the Israeli working class. Under the mantle of abstract internationalism, these charges stem from a normalization of the oppressor's national chauvinism. Remember, this is not a situation where there are two countries with two people that have lived side by side for centuries. This is one country, where one set of people is living on stolen land from which the other is displaced and militarily occupied. Just like the Jewish-led Communist Party before the Nakba in Palestine, these authors regard the national and the class question as two isolated, separate things and fail to see their interconnection. We will talk more about the class analysis in Palestine and the Israeli working class in a coming video, since this is an important topic in today's discourse. For now, let's note down that the PFLP viewed the interconnection of these two spheres, writing, "National liberation is class struggle," or as Marx said in relation to the British occupation of Ireland, quote, "The Irish question is therefore not simply a question of nationality, but one of land and existence."
And that's literally the same thing that's happening to the Palestinians. It's very important to understand that fact. You can't divide. You can't be a left-winger supporter of Israel. It's physically impossible.
The front regarded wealthier Palestinians as less likely to advance liberation, since the toiling classes had felt the loss of their homeland in a more material sense, whereas the upper classes tend to subscribe to sentimental feelings of loss through a rhetorical patriotism, impotent anger, sad longing, all abstracted from any kind of political commitment or action. Although these classes are hindered in fulfilling their own bourgeois nationalist interests, they have greater potential to be successful by succumbing to the enemy, becoming a comprador bourgeoisie, a temptation whose consequences are about to unfold over the next few decades. Aside from the two Marxist fronts, there was also the aforementioned Jewish-led Palestine Communist Party. After the establishment of the State of Israel and the annexation of the West Bank by Jordan, West Bank Palestinians joined the Jordanian Communist Party, JCP, which prioritized rebuilding and non-violent organizing, considering immediate guerrilla fighting premature and adventurous. The separate Palestinian Communist Organization, PCO, in Gaza also started with non-violent protest, but shifted to armed struggle during '67, facing heavy repression. During this period, many members left these groups due to their military inaction to join Fatah and the other fronts. In the 80s, a JCP section merged with the Gaza organization, forming another Palestine Communist Party, today known as the Palestinian People's...
What's a comprador bourgeoisie? Comprador is like a type of arrangement in Latin America where you have these large plantations and you would basically enslave the native population in order to exploit them in plantation labor. So it's a way of the settler state or the colony exploiting the native population for the benefit of the mother country or mother nation.
Party, which then joined the PLO in '87. They will eventually back the Oslo Accords, but today criticize its failures, though they still support a two-state solution based on the '67 borders. We're gonna talk about Oslo more in depth later in this series. In the lead-up to the 2021 elections, the Palestine People's Party wanted to join with the PFLP and the DFLP to form a joint leftist list. However, differences between the PPP and the Front caused the negotiations to break down. The PPP is more of an establishment organization and still prioritizes peaceful mass action over armed resistance. The question of armed resistance strategy was crucial in the period after...
So yes, the comprador equals a collaborator. Yes, it's basically somebody who works with the colony. Especially during the legendary Battle of Karame of 1968, we talked about in the last video. The imprisonment of Habash by Syria left Ahmad Jibril, leader of the Syrian-supported faction, temporarily in charge. At a meeting before the battle, disagreement arose. Fatah argued for staying and fighting. Jibril called this adventurism and decided the PFLP should withdraw its forces from the village. The front's withdrawal proved costly. Fatah gained immense prestige and popular support from the victory at Karame. Along with later internal splits, this also contributed to the front playing catch-up to Fatah in terms of public support and influence, condemning them, as some analyses put it, to a permanent second place. The Karame battle changed everything. Yeah, see, this is... Do you see this? Do you see this, chat? That when there was a moment where you could actually fight, it is the faction that fought and won and took the risk that gained everything. That gained legitimacy in the eyes of the masses. Learn this lesson, learn it deep in your bones.
With the guerrillas overtaking the bureaucratic PLO leadership in popularity and PLO seats, as talked about in the Fatah video. The front, just like Fatah, was highly skeptical of this body created by the Arab states, but did eventually participate. The PLO now became the official institution of the United Resistance Forces. At the National Council session in February of 1969, the front was angry with an unfair allocation of seats and boycotted the session. Their boycott now enabled Fatah to secure the election, with Arafat being elected as the chairman. We will keep seeing this important dynamic throughout the next videos. Habash himself, hearing the Karame news from prison, was reportedly pleased by its outcome, seeing any action highlighting the cause as beneficial. But the PFLP had missed a key moment, and opportunities to rectify this perceived strategic error would soon arise in dramatic fashion, as the PFLP sought to make its own mark on the world stage. Subscribe to the channel to not miss the next part, where we're gonna tackle the period in which the PFLP took the battle to the whole world. A period of peak internationalism involving groups across the globe, making the Palestinian cause the cause of the workers of all countries. A period which escalated the sharpening contradictions with Jordan into all-out war, and further revealing a growing rift between the PFLP and Fatah, culminating in the Fatah leadership's fateful turn, a path that Habash would argue led to betrayal. Make sure to go out on 1st of May. And we're gonna end with a quote by Habash on his May 1st speech in 1970 in front of thousands at a camp in Jordan. Quote, "We celebrate Workers' Day because we believe that the working class is the leader of the revolution for liberation, and it is only through its theory, positions, and concepts that one can achieve victory and liberation."
من غزة من قدس العربي من غزة من قدس العربي من أسر النقمة والتعبي من أسر النقمة والتعبي اخرج كالريح ولا تهبي اخرج كالريح ولا تهبي يا جيل النخوة والغضب يا جيل النخوة والغضب وتدفق 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 نهرا من لهبي وتدفق نهرا من لهبي.
What a king, dude. Make sure if you're not already subscribed, what are you even doing? What are you even doing? All right, let's move on to something a little bit more relevant, which is Donald Trump's madness has led to a point of utter economic collapse. This country is now had negative growth reported. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we do that.
So Ethan Klein.
The Victims of Bad Empanada Support Group. Okay, I'm sorry, chat, but I have to watch this. I have to watch this. Holy shit, this is amazing.
Klein said on his podcast that he is in a what he called verbatim. This is not me like giving it a name that would be accurate anyway. Like he said verbatim, he is in a Bad Empanada support group. I am not kidding. He is in a Bad Empanada support group with other victims of Bad Empanada. That is like such an embarrassing and also a hilarious thing to say. Like Ethan Klein is someone who constantly complains that like people are gang stalking him in secret Discord servers and harassing him and ruining his life and doing all these things to him for which he curiously has no proof ever except his word. And he openly admits on his channel that he is in a Discord server that is entirely dedicated to stalking, doxing, and harassing one specific person. It literally exists for that purpose, and he just brings it up. Like the Victims of Bad Empanada Memorial Foundation. Check it out, folks. You think I'm kidding? Well, listen to this.
Once again, with no direct evidence, this is just my opinion, that Bad Empanada is the one that sent the skulls.
He sent the skulls to himself. Can you say that without the qualifier of, in my opinion? Can you please say that without the qualifier? Because I would love to go to court and actually get to the bottom of this. I would like to get the records from Skulls Unlimited and see who actually
also
put the...
saying, this is my opinion, statement of fact. That's not an opinion. That's not what opinion means. It'd be like, Joe Biden gave money to Israel. In my opinion, that means he supports the genocide. The statement of fact is, did he give money to Israel or not? He supports the genocide is my analysis of his action. Saying he sent the skulls is an affirmation of a fact. Did he send the skulls or didn't he send the skulls? And he's trying to be like, well, I didn't say for sure he did it. I just thought it was my opinion he did it. Shut the fuck up, Ethan, you cowardly little bitch.
Skulls.
You know, there's one clip that iDubbbz gave us that is very, 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 very useful because it explains the situation completely. And it's very pithy. And it is this.
Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward.
There you go. There you have it. Ethan is a coward. He's a bitch-made coward.
Because you know what it's going to say on the receipt? Teddy Fresh Inc.
And again, this is the level of harassment that this guy stoops to.
About that, Red
I'm in a support group with like 10 other people.
I'm in a support group. Let's play that again.
With like, guys, I'm in a support group with like 10 other people.
I'm in a Bad Empanada support group.
Where I got the Discord messages from, who have all been the target of like relentless, horrific harassment. This is the kind of guy who like, he has a Patreon Discord that and basically a small, medium size of psychopaths that are all in on the harassment campaign, where he'll drop a YouTube link, a Twitter link, a Reddit link, whatever, to go AstroTurf. And
so like, he's in a Discord with tons of victims of Bad Empanada. And the nefarious, horrible thing that Bad Empanada does is He posts links to Reddit posts and YouTube videos in his Discord. Even Klein's entire podcast is dedicated to looking at YouTube videos and Reddit posts he doesn't like and telling his fucking subscribers to go there and post. I will remind you about what he initially said. When he initially talked about my supposed harassment Discord server or whatever, was something very different. Was what's in there is going to get him put into prison.
Literally.
Maybe in Israel it would. Which Ethan Klein really loves and supports.
Talk about doing psyops, faking posts, brigading, and all this shit. And I have 4 years.
Do I know what's going on with the Greater Clash 3? As far as I know, it's it's going ahead.
All of his chats. There's stuff in there that will put him in prison.
So he goes from this stuff in there that will get him put into prison to sometimes he links a YouTube video or a Reddit post. It's so funny how the narrative shifted. Anyway, so this bad empanada support group. What else did he say about it? Hold on, let's let our friend even finish. You know,
whatever, just humiliate, harass, attack, etc. That's what the receipts are from his Discord. But
what receipts? Where are they? Dude, I posted them like 2 months ago now, something like that. I posted the Discord logs already. There's nothing there. There's literally fucking nothing there. It's a random Patreon Discord.
He's the type of dude who will exercise such horrific harassment campaigns that it actually just gets people to stop talking about him.
That's fucking funny. Here's what actually happened. I know who's in this Discord server that he's in because I'm in there. I've been in there from the very beginning. So it's a Discord that was started by Kraut during his recent meltdown. Kraut, who's presently under investigation from the Vienna police for stalking. There are numerous Argentine fascists in there, the ones who tried to get me killed. Those are the ones who Kraut initially started the Discord with. I recently, just a couple of days ago, uploaded a video, this one right here, talking about how one of the people who Kraut has teamed up with actually almost got someone killed just last week. They sent people to the guy's house and they tried to set it on fire to kill him based on made-up allegations that the guy was murdering pets. The other people who are in there is Aristocracy. Aristocracy is an ultra-Zionist, genocidal ultra-Zionist who years ago now, I'm proud to say I ran her off YouTube, not by harassing her, but by just talking about her and her views. In this video right here, I made a 2-hour-long video, almost free.
Notice how Vaush was there saying, call Bad Empanada anti-Semitic. I mean, every single thing you see, like, if you know anybody who's a Vaush fan, at this point, you need to intervene. Like, or just remove them from your life. The guy is a fucking pedophile freak who was boosting this Zionist, genocidal Zionist before October 7th. Like, what a pathetic fucking loser.
Years ago now, this one, how a Zionist defame me, how leftist creators helped her do it, and why it will happen again. And I talked about her political views, what she said about me. I refuted basically her entire being. And as a result of this, it embarrassed her to the point that she just left YouTube and left Twitch. That is what happened with her. This is a pattern as well. You know, why does Kraut hate me? Why does Kraut consider himself a victim of Bad Empanada? Well, I made a video refuting him. I made this video refuting his support of the Iraq War. He made a video supporting the Iraq War, claiming that it wasn't about oil. I refuted him. That's what happened. Why is Lonerbucks in there? There's someone else who's in there. I made a video exposing him for being a genocide supporter. You see, this one right here was the follow-up, and this one right here was the first one. That's why this is all people who have been debunked by me and who now consider themselves like victims of Bad Empanada. Another one who's in there is like this, and this is obviously going to signal to them that I am actually in the Discord and that I have all the logs. I know precisely what's going on in there. Because this is someone who I shouldn't know is in there. There is like a 50-viewer Destiny Orbiter who we're going to be talking about soon, called Stardust. And she...
Stardust only gets 50 viewers? That is so painfully embarrassing. That is painful. Can you imagine only getting 50 viewers after being a Destiny Orbiter for a decade at this point? Making your entire life around Destiny, and the grand total result of that is making $100 a month streaming. Absolutely pathetic. She has a .gg, so it's actually less. Oh my god. What do these people do for money? Like, what do these people do for money? Do some people's parents just give them money into their fucking 30s and 40s? Is this a thing? I think as an adult, if I have gotten... I I think I've gotten almost nothing from my parents. My parents didn't even pay for my college. They gave me nothing. When I was 18, I was on my fucking own. I think they helped me pay rent one time because I was broke. Like, it's absolutely fucking crazy that these people have these safety nets and they just fail. It's fucking crazy. And they just sit there. I mean, no wonder they're so obsessed with us. It makes so much sense. It's like, holy fuck. I guess like you look at yourself and you're a massive failure, right? And then you see people like me and Hassan and we're like at the top of the streaming charts, building our own communities. I have 7,724 subscribers right now. I probably get more subscribers in a week than she's ever gotten in her entire career. The fact that Bad Empanada is even mentioning this person is actually just crazy, honestly. But let's go back to making fun of him.
She is in there as well. She is some.
As a 40-year-old man, I do accept help from my mother for my GLP-1 medication because it's not covered under insurance and it's very expensive. I mean, listen, if your parents are helping you out, I get it. It's totally fine to get help from your social network. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm saying it's bad to do that and then be a advocate for right-wing politics. To be an advocate for, let's get rid of all the welfare for people while you're a leech and a sponger yourself is fucking crazy. The contradiction between the person's politics and their actual own life is crazy.
Someone who I don't know anything about, I don't care to know anything about. She looks like she had someone give her like the Joker thing where they chop the sides of your mouth to be like this so that you're always smiling. Like her mouth goes up to her nostrils. I've never seen that in someone before. Aside from that though, she's like no one. She's just like a pathetic Destiny orbiter who does nothing but repeat what Destiny says, defend Destiny's pedophilia, defend Destiny's sex crimes, and like defend Israeli genocide. There's also Drew Pavlu, who we're also going to be going over soon. Don't worry. You know, Drew Pavlu, like an ultra-Zionist paid to be an ultra-Zionist by a fascist millionaire, Simon Fenwick. Basically, Ethan Klein is in a Bad Empanada support group with a bunch of people who are pissed off because they have had altercations with me based on politics, which I refuse.
That's the thing. That's the same reason why they hated me, because I disagree with them about politics. And so I disagreed with Vouch or whoever or Destiny based on their dumb fucking politics. And they made it personal because they can't debate the issues. And of course, their slop fucking communities just want to watch, you know, I guess, boutique trash TV. Like, I don't even understand why anybody likes their shit. It's not interesting enough. It's not funny enough. They're not even edgy enough. It's just amazing what people will slide into.
Them on
momentum.
And they are butthurt about it. Like, I mentally destroyed them so much simply by refuting their political arguments, and now they're in a Bad Empanada support group Discord. In every one of these cases, it is someone who like tried to come after me with nothing but allegations of anti-Semitism when I refuted them, and I came back at them and destroyed them on the basis of the facts and the evidence to the point that it literally like hurt them mentally. Like they got ass blasted so fucking bad by me in the supposed marketplace of ideas that in order to cope with it, they had to invent this narrative that they are being gang stalked and harassed by me instead. This is what Ethan Klein is doing. It's precisely the same thing. It's precisely what all Zionists do. The only way that Zionists can win arguments, because they know that they are wrong, the only way that they can win arguments based on facts and evidence, or at least win them in their own mind. So a Zionist makes a claim and you're like, that claim is false. Here's all the evidence that it's false. And the Zionist will respond, this is harassment. I'm being gang stalked. This is anti-Semitism. Every single one of these people, aside from Stardust, because who the fuck even is that, is one of those people. Every single one, without fucking question, without exception. I have the receipts for it. In the videos that I just showed you, they got ass blasted on my main channel and there was no recovering from it, to the point that for some of them, it literally was the end of their career because they couldn't handle getting destroyed that badly in the marketplace of ideas. And Ethan Klein is in a...
It's funny because it's fucking true. It's fucking true. Loaderbox is fucking destroyed. Loaderbox has been boosted by Ethan Klein, Destiny, all sorts of Zionist organizations, and he got ass blasted by Bad Empanada so badly. He's a fucking loser. Holy fucking shit, dude. Oh god, it's so funny. You love to see it.
A group of others who have lost arguments with Bad Empanada when they tried to defend Zionism and failed miserably. They have a Discord support group dedicated to stalking and harassing a single person, which is precisely what all of them claim I did to them. What else is there to say about that? Victims of Bad Empanada support group. The fucking Victims of Bad Empanada support group. Like, listen, if you were a genocidal Zionist and me refuting you makes you feel harassed to the point that you leave the internet and you just stop making videos, that's good. That's good. Fantastic. That is a good thing. I want people who spread genocidal Zionist propaganda gone. I want you off the internet. The fact that, like, Aristocracy, for example, literally stopped making videos after I refuted her and exposed her as a genocidal Zionist is an immense positive. So you're like, Bad Empanada supposedly harassed these people to the point that they stopped posting videos. What actually happened is I refuted them to the point that they stopped posting videos, and I'm so fucking glad that they stopped. Good. Great. Zionist propagandists out of all spaces. Zionists excluded from everything. This is just the beginning. If you think it's bad now, it's going to get worse for you because everyone is waking up to who and what you fuckers are. Genocidal maniacs.
Fuck, that's so great. Oh, God, dude. I know Bad Empanada is... Listen, he says shit that I don't agree with. I want to particularly talk about this. He says... Why did Hassan Piker get a gushing profile of the New York Times, the official newspaper of the Democratic Party? Because they know he funnels potential radicals right to them. No threat to power would ever be treated by the mainstream media as Hassan is. His position simply does not hold up to the most basic material analysis, and his cultist fans can't handle it. He's where he is because he's useful to the system, and he's happy to play ball and reap the benefits. Okay, this is just nonsense. This is actually just not. This isn't even materialist analysis. This is just nonsense. The reason why Hassan is where he is because the capitalists don't have a firm grasp on reality or on their systems. They created these social media platforms and they let people stream on them, and then he started streaming political content that was on the left, and a lot of people liked it, and he radicalized them in at the same time that the Bernie Sanders and AOC movements were growing. And so he grabbed on that wave of more left-wing politics, and he's continually, and that was just popular. Left-wing ideas are popular. Bernie Sanders was popular, not because of his dumb, wrong opinions on things like Israel, but because of his correct opinions about American foreign policy being disastrous or Medicare for all being a good idea. And, so he became successful because the capitalists don't really know what's going on. And then he got so large, and it's organic. The fans did it. And the algorithms were not calibrated properly to control the narratives that were created. And so he became large because that's what people were engaging with, and that's what the algorithm valued. I mean, it's not like this is honestly almost mysticism, right? And he has fans, and some of them work for the New York Times. There are sympathizers for the left at the New York Times. It isn't some sort of like authoritarian lockdown. There's nobody who has any progressive values in these institutions. There's sympathizers shot through all these organizations. This is just anti-materialist, honestly. This is baby level analysis. And yes, is Hassan friendly to people like Bernie Sanders and AOC? Yes. Why? Because that's where the masses are. We're recruiting from where the masses are. What do you want me to say? Like, ignore the most prominent left-wing politicians and stand in a fucking reading room with 20 other people who already agree with me? Or am I going to go where the masses are? And sometimes I think one of the problems I really have with Bad Empanada, like the biggest disagreement I have with him is that he doesn't value the idea of the funnel, which has been so successful for the right wing. He doesn't value the idea that there are people who stand closer to the mainstream, but who are sympathetic to the left and don't punch left, and you funnel those people further and further to the left. And that's what Hassan does objectively. He does it with me. He does it with the deprogram guys. He does it with Bad Empanada even. Bad Empanada just doesn't understand or doesn't value, or he has created in his own mind the idea that if he puts himself out there as the most, pure person, people will come to him that'll be his role. He doesn't seem to understand what the fuck he's talking about. I was on his stream on election day saying, don't vote for Kamala Harris. Are you fucking crazy? He's been a massive promoter of me, and I've been trashing the Democratic Party so much. And he continually reads my chats. He continually promotes my ideas. He says I was right about everything. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not even true. I'm one of the most anti-Democratic Party people there are. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? He's had so many left-wingers on there that are anti-Democratic Party. Like, you're just nonsense. It's just nonsense. The fact that Hassan is he is doing what we're all doing, muddling through, because we don't know what the right answer is. I would love to see a Morena in America. And would that be my end goal? No. But this is what I don't understand. Like, this is just wild. I mean, I get why he's doing it, but it's just, he's just wrong, right? Castro had a fawning article about him in the New York Times. Does that mean Castro is not a threat to the system? I mean, like, what are you even saying? Cuban rebel is visited in hideout. Castro is still alive and still fighting in the mountains. This is for sure. This is the first sure news that Fidel Castro is still alive and still in Cuba. No one connected with the outside world, let alone the press, has seen Senor Castro except this writer. No one in Havana, not even at the United States Embassy, with all its resources for getting information, will know until this report is published that Fidel Castro is really in Sierra Maestra. This account, along with other things, will break the tightest censorship in the history of the Cuban Republic. Like a fawning positive article of Castro. Oh man, I guess that means he's not a threat. Like, what the fuck are you even saying? His point doesn't even make sense.
I was at that Bernie Sanders rally in Los Angeles. I was preoccupied, but I was there. I saw it for myself. And after I passed a clan of 40-plus-year-old white people screaming, "Take America back!" an Asian dude with dookie locks, and a group of black people singing the national anthem like a church hymn, I realized while I wasn't in enemy territory, these were not my people. Not yet.
Yeah, no shit. That's why there were 40,000 people there and not 10. That's why there were 40,000 people there and not 10. Because whether or not, you know, like, this is one of the things that I really don't like about baby leftists. The zeal of the converted, which is like, you get your mind changed about America being bad or bad force or whatever, and now your entire goal is to just express yourself as the most left-wing person. As if that fucking matters. It literally doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. Your personal perfection is liberalism.
Yeah, I was gonna get up out of there, but AOC came on, and I was just like, I have to hear her talk in person. I have to. And let me just say, she's really good at her job. Like, scary good at her job.
Okay, are you going to actually criticize anything she said in the speech?
The way she co-opts language. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, purity politics. Like, even she has adopted this language. But if you are talking about building working class solidarity, and you were not talking about building that solidarity in relation to the ruling class, the capitalist class.
It's called the anti-oligarchy tour. What are you talking about? Like, listen, if you want to criticize AOC, but actually have a fucking point. And not only that, she was way better on Palestine. She specifically called out all the people that were illegally in prison with ICE. She called it a fucking genocide. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, people just make shit up. Now, I'm not saying she's perfect. She's made a couple dumb votes that I think were problematic. You know who else has made dumb votes that are problematic? Ilhan Omar. I don't see the same energy for some reason.
You have co-opted socialist language. Like, her speech was so inspiring. I was like, you're talking about building working class solidarity? Okay, so what are we to do? And what does she suggest? To build a stronger Democratic Party. So yeah, I left. Didn't even stay to hear Bernie Sanders go on his little Zionist rants. Like, these people know what they're doing. They're not trying to empower the people. They're trying to give that illusion while they gain power for themselves.
What are the points they're making? Which is a huge revelation, and I wish they would lean into more, is that people should run as independents and not as Democrats, as well as running as Democrats where it's tactically advantageous. Now, I disagree with that strategy. I think we should do a dirty break. They think we shouldn't do that because the Republicans are so dangerously fascist that if we do a dirty break and it goes sideways and it results in the Republicans winning a whole bunch of seats they shouldn't have otherwise won, like, that's why they're against it. Because they think it's too risky. Like, if they do a dirty break and the Democrats don't collapse and the Democrats end up holding on to 10, 15, 20% of the vote and they only get 25, 30% of the vote, the Republicans could win. And they could win all sorts of places they never were going to win because the vote gets split a certain type of way. And they don't want that to happen. They're worried that if the Republicans get more power, they'll amend the Constitution and they'll do all sorts of shit. And then we'll be mega fucked. That's why they're not doing it. Now, I disagree with them. I think that if they did finally throw off the Democratic Party, it would collapse in an election or two. And a lot of Democrats would just switch parties to this new party. You know, there'd be 150 people that would just outright switch to this new party if it looked like it was dominating. These politicians don't have any loyalty. Mike, what's the allegations that there's a lot of issues with abusers with the PSL? It's just, okay, first of all, every organization that has people in it is going to have fucking weirdos that do bad shit. You have to be more specific than just meaningless garbage like what you just said. I heard that there was some incident in the Philadelphia PSL with some guy. I don't know. I wasn't there. You don't think there's abusers in every other organization? Like, give me a fucking break. Anyway, my long story short, the United States of America is the world superpower. I want America's superpower status to be in the hands of the most left-wing people possible who actually want to do something differently on foreign policy. That is my number one priority. Donald Trump wants to do something different by being even more fascist. That's bad. All right. China has an announcement. They're working on 40 nuclear power units simultaneously. I don't know why they went with the acoustic music. They're working on 40 nuclear power plants. Holy shit.
工程设计到施工、调试到商润的核电工程全生命周期建造运营能力、纯堆建设管理能力均处于国际先进行列，具备同时
The United States cannot do this.
40余台核电机组的工程施工能力。
Scientists and laboratories.
我国向全球开放包括中国先进堆在内的12个。
In 2024, China opened 12 nuclear research facilities and experimental platforms to the world,
12个核
including the China
科技
Advanced
设施
Research
和实验
Reactor.
平台，与泰国、孟加
We
拉、
launched
匈牙利、
collaborative projects
波
with
兰、尼日
Thailand,
利亚等国
Bangladesh,
家在
Hungary,
核医疗、
Poland,
核农学、
and there was one other.
工业
In
服
areas
装
like nuclear
等领域
medicine,
开展
nuclear
了项目合作。
agriculture, and industrial irradiation. Can China build 40 Buckies? Yes, they can. Like, can you imagine? Anyway, long story short, I love Bada Pinata. I disagree with him. I mean, the funnel is important. Hassan doesn't punch left and funnels people to the left. That's all I need to know about Hassan. That's all I need to know. That's his role. He's doing a great job. If you don't understand that, you don't value that, that's your own mistake. By the way, chat, I'm watching the new season of Andor, and holy shit. My reaction is the verisimilitude of the show is even improved. I haven't watched the last episode. I only watched 2 episodes last night before I went to bed. So I have the finale of the second pack of 6. But the understanding of revolutions and how they develop and the brutality of especially these early groups and the way that they portray the security services, it literally feels like I'm looking like I'm sure FBI agents and CIA agents watch Andor and they just completely vibe with the ISB. It is so good. It's so professionally done. Also, it looks so fucking expensive. Can I just say that about the show? Like, every single set is so thoroughly designed. It's so focused on verisimilitude. And it's crazy. You could tell they had so much. I mean, it's like Lord of the Rings level. Have you watched Severance? I do like Severance. I didn't like Severance until season 1 episode finale. I stuck through Severance through all of season 1, and the finale of season 1 was one of the best finales I've ever seen in a show, and was so good that it retroactively made me like the show, other earlier episodes better and more. It was like a stick of dynamite with a really long wick or fuse. And I'm just, you know, it was a really, really slow burn. But I'm a huge Severance fan. Severance, good. The finale angered my wife? What? The finales were great. The finales were great. It's also the first instance of a depiction of sexual assault in the Star Wars universe. No, it's not. Fucking, what are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. Jabba the Hutt. Princess Leia. She was literally like implied to be some sort of sex slave in the fucking metal bikini. Yeah, it was highly sexualized because people do that. And there was pretty clearly what they were intending to do, but she was very clearly being put into some sort of sexual bondage. And she killed the fucking bastard. That's why she choked him out. It was so satisfying because he had been leering at her and he had, you know, a disgusting mouth. It was all sexual. Like, what? What are you talking about? Did people not watch the movies? I liked how the first season we finally got to see a sort of material world consequences. At the beginning of season 2, they just sort of replotted, piloted, like, whoa, we're back in the unknown. No, they did really, really great. I loved it. I really like the show. I think it's great. It feels like exactly the show we need in the moment. And when I watch it, I kind of feel like I experience it a lot different than most people because when I'm watching like shows like Andor, not to be self-aggrandizing, but I get this sinking feeling in my gut. And it's like, it's not so much of entertainment anymore. It's almost like we're in this same fascist fucking society, except the only difference is there's no resistance. There's no revolution. There's a famous Star Wars YouTuber that was arguing that the rape scene was unnecessary. It wasn't a rape scene. It was a sexual violent scene with the implied threat of rape, but there wasn't actually a rape. It was part of the milieu of coercion. I guess these are just children. They're just kind of like baby brain children. I'm not gonna spoil anything more, but let's just say the Empire is evil. The Gorman thing is a little on the nose. I don't think so. But I didn't see the last episode, so I'll tell you what I think. The problem with any depiction of fascism in the media is there's a bunch of people that like fascism. Yeah, of course. And when you're like, fascism is bad, they're like, no, it's not. Okay, it's time for us to move on. It's something that's incredible. We just keep winning. Donald Trump is getting humiliated. The tariff recession is here. Palestinian advocates are being released from prison. The left is rising. Centrist Democrats are mauling and flailing and becoming more and more unpopular. Everything I said might happen to Samuel Cedar is happening.
Before the break, we are learning now a federal judge in Vermont has ordered the immediate release of this Columbia University student, Mohsen Madawi. You can see he is outside the courthouse. These are live images right now as he's speaking. Madawi was detained at his citizenship interview. Here's a little of what he had to say as he was leaving the courthouse. Let's listen in.
I love you too. I've always learned that home is where you feel safe and loved, and those who surround you there are your people, and you are my people.
We'll continue to hear and listen to that news conference that he's holding right now outside the courthouse. Bring you more sound from him. Let's bring back MSNBC legal analyst Annie Savalos. Now, as we continue to look at these live pictures, this is a breakthrough moment, as we've seen case after case, involving students who are here legally with visas of some sort being detained. Now a judge is saying he's going to go free.
Well, go free is a qualified term because it looks like this was a release under a case called what's called Matt v. Reno. And Khalil, also another student, filed a motion similar. So what it means is since 2001, the Second Circuit has held that somebody who files for habeas relief, they can be granted bail pending the outcome of the habeas petition. They have to make a showing, essentially a three-part showing that they're likely to win, basically, that there's a real issue involved and it would really help their habeas petition to be released on bail. So what I believe has happened here is that the judge has granted that. I didn't see anything on the docket yet. That's not unusual. It takes a few.
Chat, Vio has decided that I was looking a little too skinny and decided to get me gigantic and make gigantic Texas toast, French toast with bananas Foster. What the fuck? I'm going to have so much kitchen to clean. I tried to do this division of labor where it's like, okay, you know, you could cook and, you know, bring me the food and I'll clean up the kitchen, you know, because I'm enjoying the food you made. And I feel like this deal is becoming bigger and bigger. And Vio is just using it like, yeah. Why are you putting your hand out? I accept your deal. Thank you. I accept your deal. But you never even tried Texas toast before. Where the hell did you even find it? One of the funny things about Vio is they're a European that likes American white bread, which is like actually an embarrassing fact about Vio. And I was like, oh, I should get you some Texas toast. That's fucking... Here's the thing about Vio that you don't understand. Vio likes everything. She just enjoys... She will be like at a Michelin restaurant, super fine dining, and enjoying the most avant-garde foam shit. And then also will eat like Campbell's tomato soup and a grilled cheese. They just like experiencing food and people's like, and I really appreciate that. Not having any airs, not having any pretensions. It's
I poisoned your food, by the way.
Huh?
Nothing.
Vio is more Vio isn't a marabou. There's no doubt about that.
Can you stop exposing me as an Ameriboo?
I mean, you don't even have an accent at this point. That's how much Ameriboo shit.
I never had an accent.
Like, that's how much of an Ameriboo you are. You're just a pure spy.
I gotta go. Bye.
That's how you know Sabra hummus sucks, because Vio doesn't like it. If I tried to give Vio Sabra hummus, I would be killed.
Minutes to upload to ECF, but in all likelihood, what we're seeing here is that he's been granted bail pending his habeas petition. It is not truth. It is freedom. You are exactly right. It is freedom in the sense that anything out of custody is freedom, and it really improves your chances of winning your case. But he's not out of the woods yet. He's not out of the immigration woods yet, so to speak.
I'm just so glad he's out of fucking detention. Those fucking fascists. And I want to know what's going on more. Now that he's been released, we can find out more. Oh, fuck. Plate is so piled high. I tried to put the knife down, and there's nowhere to put it.
Welcome back. Joining me now is independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. Let's start off by talking about Russia and Ukraine. You just heard my conversation with Secretary Rubio. President Trump signaling he could be looking at the possibility of imposing new sanctions against Russia. Do you think that President Trump should impose new sanctions against Russia?
Well, I think what Trump has done over the last number of months has been an absolute disaster and been of real assistance to Putin and his horrible war against the people of Ukraine. When you announced to the world that it was
Hold on, chat.
Ukraine that started the war, when you insult Zelensky, who comes into the Oval Office, what you are telling Putin is, hey, we are on your side. For the first time in the 250-year history of the United States of America, we have a president who sides with a dictatorship.
Like, look at this shit. Venezuelan detainees at Texas Center spell out SOS with their bodies. Men at Blue Bonnet fear deportation to El Salvador under wartime law despite maintaining they do not have gang ties. Like, this is where we're at. You know, one of the things that's happening is my heart is being hardened. You know, like when you see this kind of behavior from the right wing, it's the destruction of any kind of rule of law, the destruction of even the basic right to prove your identity, revocation of people's green cards, oftentimes people married to American spouses. That's not just a disruption of the green card holders' rights. That's a disruption of every American citizen who's married to someone with a green card. Their rights have been impugned. Their free speech has been impugned. So even if you were just a disgusting xenophobic nationalist American, your rights are being undermined by these fucking fascist fucks. And now this is what we're looking at. This is the reality of our society. And people like Brianna Wu are attacking Hassan and me because we don't support a genocide of children, little girls being exploded. Just yesterday, I saw two separate little girls' dead bodies, horrifically mutilated by Israeli weapons. And this is what's going on in our society. And you're trying to attack Hassan?
And that is outrageous. So I hope very much that in the coming weeks and months, we can reach some kind of a settlement that Ukraine, of course, who have suffered so much in fighting Russia and defending democracy, is at the table. You cannot make a decision without the Ukrainian people abiding by that and being part of that process.
Okay, just to be very clear, though, do you think now is the time for sanctions, just quickly before we move on to tariffs?
I think we have got to do everything that we can to work with the rest of the world and tell Putin he cannot run over an independent country.
Okay, so not taking sanctions off the table. I do want to talk about tariffs now and the trade war. President Trump says he is taking an aggressive approach on the trade war because he...
ICE agents raid home, force family out into their underwear, traumatized. Federal immigration authorities seized a family of U.S. citizens' phones, laptops, and life savings before forcing them to stand outside in the rain in their underwear. The search warrants included the location of an address where U.S. citizens recently moved. The previous residents were the intended targets. So you guys are so lazy and incompetent, you can't, like, check that the people before you actually rip them out of the house are actually still living there. You don't do any intelligence gathering. You just go in there and harass people and say, oops, a whoops, a daisy. By the way, was it a judicial search warrant? Why do armed agents need to show up at night? This is fascism. Any warrant that is not executed during regular business hours is an extraordinary warrant. Did you guys know that? 20 armed agents stormed the property. Insane. They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between them. My husband has not ever seen my daughter in her undergarments, her own dad, because it's respectful. You have her out there, a minor, in her underwear. We just moved here from Maryland, Marissa said. We're citizens. That's what I kept saying. We're citizens. They were very dismissive, very rough, very careless. I kept pleading. I kept telling them we aren't criminals. They're treating us like criminals. We were here by ourselves. We didn't do anything. Ultimately seizing their phones, laptops, and their entire cash savings as evidence. I told them that before I left that you took my phone. We have no money. I just moved here. I have to feed my children. I'm going to need gas money. I need to be able to get around. Like, how do you just leave me like this? Like an abandoned dog. Marissa said her family is now left with virtually nothing. Her husband had remained in Maryland for a few additional weeks and was planning to join them later that weekend. It was a court-approved search warrant as part of a large-scale human smuggling investigation. You're breaking in. What am I supposed to think? My initial thought was they were being robbed, that my daughters, being females, were being kidnapped. You have guns pointed in our faces. Can you just reprogram yourself and see us as humans, as women? A little bit of mercy. Care a little bit about your fellow human, about your fellow citizen, fellow resident. We bleed, we work, we bleed just like everyone else bleeds. We're scared. You can see our faces that we're terrified. What makes you so much more worthier of your peace? What makes you so much more worthier of protecting your children? What makes you so much more worthy of your citizenship? What makes you more worthy of safety, of being given the right they took from me to protect my daughters? These are the most pathetic fucking fascist fucks. I can't speak or else I'll get in trouble.
He says he wants to bring manufacturing back. He says he wants to bring jobs back for American workers. Senator, do you support...
I want to show you something that I think is very...
temporary economic pain if it does mean bringing back manufacturing and leveling the playing field, as President Trump has argued?
Look, Kristen, you're talking to somebody who helped lead the effort against NAFTA, against PNTR with China. Because I understood back then that these were trade agreements written by corporate America so they could shut down thousands of plants in this country, lay off millions of workers, and move to low-wage countries where people were paid starvation wages. So if your question is, do I believe in selective tariffs, tariffs that make sense to protect American workers? I do. Do I support what Trump did, which is an arbitrary tariff on virtually every country on earth, which will raise prices substantially for ordinary Americans? No, I don't. So if you have selective tariffs, carefully thought out to protect American workers, yes, what Trump has done is, in my view, very, very wrong.
All right, let's talk about what you have called your oligarchy tour. You and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have been crisscrossing the country, warning of an emerging oligarchy. Senator, you told the New York Times, I'm going to read this quote, one of the aspects of this tour is to try to rally people to get engaged in the political process and run as independents outside of the Democratic Party. As someone who twice ran in the Democratic presidential primary, are you trying to strengthen the Democratic Party? Or, Senator, are you trying to start a third party?
Now, we're not trying to start a third party. What we're trying to do...
Which is so disappointing.
is strengthen American democracy, where faith in both the Democratic and Republican parties right now is extremely low. We are living, Kristen, in the richest country in the history of the world. And yet you got one person, Mr. Musk, who owns more wealth than the bottom 53% of American households. That is insane. That is oligarchy on steroids. Meanwhile, we have 60% of our workers living paycheck to paycheck. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth. And we have over 20% of seniors in America living on $15,000 a year or less. What the American people are saying is that they want, and what our tour was about, is to say that they want an economy that works for all of us, not just for Mr. Musk and other billionaires. Now, my concern right now is you have Democrats appropriately, and I'm working with them, talking about Trump's movement toward authoritarianism, vigorously opposing the so-called...
Bernie Sanders is wrong. Bernie Sanders is wrong. Hakeem Jeffries wants Dems to put an end to trips to El Salvador. Cory Booker and the Hispanic caucus were planning on going, but Democratic leadership seems to want El Salvador trips to stop for a while. It's April 2025. I want you to understand that, chat. It's April 2025. It's not the day before the election. It's April 2025. If we're never going to stand up to Trump, even in the fucking odd years, what the fuck are you talking about, man? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was asked Monday about whether Democrats should continue to advocate for the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and other men wrongfully shipped to El Salvador by making the trip to the country to put a spotlight on the issue. Our reaction is that Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in modern American history, Jeffries responded. This man should never lead anything. He couldn't lead a fucking banana stand. Get him. This is who people like Destiny or people like Ethan Klein think should run the Democratic Party. These people couldn't win anything. This is why he has a 20% approval rating. But while Jeffries may be publicly agnostic on El Salvador trips like the one Reps Robert Garcia, Yasmin Ansari, Maxwell Frost, and Maxine Dexter recently took, privately, he sees the trips as having run their course. Two Democratic aides and a lawmaker who spoke to the Bulwark. By the way, the Bulwark is a neocon, never Trump Republican paper. These are never Trump neoconservatives, and they think he's a fucking loser. Said that the minority leader has discouraged further incursions to the country, even as pressure mounts within the party to turn up the heat on Trump for sending 238 men to a notorious prison system known for human rights abuses. They want to let the El Salvador stuff slow down, a senior House staffer said. So in other words, they want it to go away and leave these men abandoned. I'm sorry, chat, but if you like this motherfucker, you're the fucking problem. Jeffries' office initially declined to comment, but after the publication of this piece, a spokesperson put out a statement calling it false. The spokesperson, Christine Stevenson, said the item was thinly sourced, leaving out that their office did not initially push back when contacted prior to publication. Stevenson noticed that Jeffries has repeatedly says House Democrats will never stop fighting for the release of Mr. Abrego Garcia. And indeed, after the Supreme Court ruled that the White House had to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return, Jeffries demanded that the order be aggressively and immediately enforced. Mr. Abrego Garcia must be returned immediately before he is killed in one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. Enough with the fake bravado, his April 14th statement said. Whether Jeffries believes having House Democrats physically go to El Salvador will help or hinder efforts to get Abrego Garcia back is not addressed either in Stevenson's statement or his own comments following the Supreme Court decision. The debate among Democrats over how aggressively they should engage the issue of mass deportations and use the El Salvador's prison specifically has been simmering for weeks now. And if Jeffries' eagerness to sidestep it suggests that the party is far from a consensus. While leadership may be more eager to talk about the economy, other Democrats say there is a moral obligation to spotlight cases like Abrego Garcia, and they believe the politics are already turning in their favor. I mean, this is the thing about this is basically actually a really, 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 really important point. The main difference between me, Hassan, the left, and the centrists is that we believe that politicians of conscience, politicians of rhetorical skill and leadership ability can change the minds of the people, can change the minds of politicians, can change society and push it forward with leadership and ability and argumentation. That is what you're there for. The purpose of a politician is to be a learned leader and representative of the collective movements that support them. That is their fucking job, okay? It is not to just do a poll and then chase whatever the fucking line looks like minute to minute. If that were the case, why do we need you at all? Just have direct democracy. If the only thing a politician is supposed to do is chase some line that goes up and down, why do we need politicians at all? If your judgment, if your leadership, if your ideology is unimportant, why the fuck are you even there? And this is the main difference between me, the left, and the centrist Democrats. Centrist Democrats, they just want to win. But they're bad at it. And the reason they're bad at it is because they don't understand the psychology of human beings. Donald Trump did not win by chasing the polls. Donald Trump won by feeding red meat to his base and having eager people behind him who were energized and engaged. And he was running up against another party that had no energy, whose base was depressed, whose leadership was suppressing the movements that were trying to pressure them. Trump embraced right-wing fascist movements and the populist base of his right-wing fascist party, and the Democrats suppressed their base and suppressed the youth and suppressed the energy. That's why they're losers. And we have this perfect opportunity to show to the American people what Republicans really represent and how they are out of touch and how evil they are. And the Republican Party is being helped by the centrist Democrats in office to protect themselves. And the reason why is because Hakeem Jeffries is a born paid loser. He's there to be the Washington Generals to the Republican Harlem Globetrotters. He's there to get dunked on. He's there to take money from the donors. And if they win, God forbid these Democrats win, is to make sure it's as narrow a margin as possible so they don't do anything that offends the donors. God forbid you raise taxes on the rich and provide health care to people. That is Jeffrey's main goal to stop. And here's how you can prove it. If you go to the average Democratic politician and you said, would you rather have 50-50 control in the Senate or 70 Democrats in the Senate? Most of these leaders in the Democratic Party would pick 50-50. They don't even believe in what they say. They don't want to have a supermajority where they can pass shit because they don't believe in anything. Chris Van Hollen was the first to go to El Salvador, noting Abrego Garcia is a Maryland resident. The senator managed to meet with Abrego Garcia to confirm his health after a few days of pressuring the Salvadorian government. And after that visit, Abrego Garcia was moved from the CCOP prison to another facility. Courthouse Democrats followed Van Hollen's lead, hoping to draw attention to the hundreds of other men deported along with Abrego Garcia. Senator Cory Booker reportedly made plans to visit El Salvador to advocate for the detainees there. His office did not respond to a request for comment on whether the trip was still in the works. Cory Booker is a fucking coward. Espaillat, like other Democrats, is focused on the Trump administration's assault on due process and sending deportees to El Salvador without any hearings. It's a line of attack the polls have shown resonates with Americans, as the president's numbers dive sharply at the 100-day marker of his term. For years, Republicans primed the system for abuse and cruelty, and now the Trump administration is crossing every due process line in the book, and they did not rewrite the United States Constitution. Due process is an inalienable right, regardless of status, for anyone and everyone in the United States of America. But some Democrats worry about the party growing overly consumed by the Abrego Garcia case. If members in safe seats continue to flock to El Salvador, it could give ammunition to Republicans to use against more vulnerable Democrats. One trip was sufficient. It made sense that Van Hollen went, but it was the safest possible members to go. It gives fodder for the National Republican Campaign Committee to start using against other Democrats, a second House staffer said. They should understand that what they're doing is going to be hurting us in the long run. You're a fucking dumbass. You are a fucking dumb fuck. Vasquez represents a New Mexico district that includes a long span of the U.S.-Mexico border. The district's partisanship rating is even, indicating it neither significantly more Democratic or Republican than the country at large. In 2024, Vasquez won re-election by 9,000 votes out of 265,000 cast. At a recent town hall, a tracker recorded Vasquez's explanation of why he voted against the Lincoln-Riley Act, a law that orders the detention by ICE of undocumented immigrants over even small violations like shoplifting. And his comments on Abrego Garcia, the violation of due process. Those comments quickly found their way onto a Fox News story under the headline, Dem Border Rep brags about voting against the Lincoln-Riley Act, with a quote from the NRCC. Vasquez stands by his vote, and he noted that his message goes beyond Abrego Garcia. We're seeing innocent people, the spouses of military service members, kids being deported, authorities going into schools, military bases, hospitals, and arresting judges. Trump is making a wrong turn on mass deportation force, and it's going to make his position weaker. So you have a frontline Democrat openly saying, I'm opposing Trump on this immigration shit with his name attached And now they're going to some fucking anonymous source, centrist Democrat coward. But some Democrats who also worry that Abrego Garcia has become a less than ideal poster child for opposition to Trump's immigration policies, as it was revealed that his wife sought a protective order against him. She recently said in a statement that she acted out of caution because she had suffered domestic violence in a previous relationship. This is not the right case to talk about due process. This is not the right case. This is not the right person to be saying that we need to bring it back to the United States. So in other words, we only need to have due process for people that I like, said Henry Cuellar. By the way, Henry Cuellar is only in office because Nancy Pelosi intervened at the very last second to oppose a Bernie Sanders progressive who was primarying him, and he won by less than 1%. This is who the Democratic Party is. This is who they fucking are. I mean, and this is the thing that really drives me insane. This is what drives me insane, is that if you are pretending that this is anything but what they fucking are, you are a liar. Chris Newman, a lawyer for the Abrego Garcia family, fired back at Cuellar and Democrats who said they are worried about the politics of supporting men wrongly sent to El Salvador. The trips have been proven effective both in the efforts to save Mr. Abrego Garcia's life and to save Democrats from the quagmire they are in and the issue of immigration. What's needed now is more than wrong-headed hot takes like those from Congressman Cuellar in action. And my hope is there will be more members of Congress following the lead of Senator Van Hollen and Congressman Garcia and Frost. While the second trip did not deliver the explicit positive like Van Hollen's did, it was a reminder for El Salvador not to do anything crazy while they were in the country. And the bigger reminder is Trump is not going to be there forever. No matter what his hat sales say, he's not going to get a third term or live to be 100. As Democrats remain divided over how much to emphasize the Abrego Garcia case and the tensions in El Salvador more generally, they await firmer guidance from above. You'll never get it. Other House Democrats are willing to listen to leadership, a member of Congress said, but if Jeffries has a preference, he needs to communicate it and make it known. As a member of a party, you need to be disciplined, one Democratic lawmaker said. They say, get on a plane, don't get on a plane. That's what you do. 9 out of 10 times, you do what they ask. But you can't take that approach if you're not having regular communications. You have to be clear in messaging what the plan is, and you have to do that regularly if you want to keep people in line. There isn't a line. Don't you understand? They're not leaders. Pathetic fucking losers. I'm not donating a dime to the Democrats until they get out on the streets like we are. Get aggressive. This is the neocon bulwark, which is a fucking never Trump people, and they're saying get out on the streets. For the love of God, the Democratic Party is so toast. This is so good. Oh my God. I am so vindicated. I am so fucking vindicated. Kamala Harris had won. They would be largely doing the exact same shit, especially in Gaza. And liberals will be spending all day defending it. But now that Trump's doing it, we are actually building the left again. Accelerationists in.
Called reconciliation bill, to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and make massive cuts to Medicaid, nutrition, and housing, opposing what Musk is doing to dismember the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Administration.
Chad, I started to eat these Texas toast, French toast. This is insane. I had like half of it, like not even half of it, like a quarter of it, and I'm full. Like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy.
Making it harder for our veterans to get decent health care or benefits on time.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at how thick these slices are. Can you guys see this? Can you see this? Look how thick this one slice is. It's like 3 fucking slices.
On the same page. But what Democrats lack right now is a vision for the future. How are we going to provide a decent standard of living for a younger generation, which, everything being equal, will be poorer than their
Theo
parents?
is holding back your manosphere body. I know!
Repair a broken healthcare system. How do we raise the minimum wage to a
Give me
living
the
wage?
slices.
How do we deal with a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to control both political parties? Those are some of the issues that need to be discussed. And we are going out around the country right now asking people, working people, run for office. You want to run as a Democrat? Great. You want to run as an independent? That's great. But you got to get involved in the political process, because right now the two-party system is failing the working class of this country.
Let me ask you about something that your colleague, Senator Alyssa Slotkin, said. She said Democrats should stop using the term oligarchy.
Chat.
It's a phrase that
Are the
doesn't
slices really
resonate
that thick?
with all Americans. Are you missing a chance to speak to a wider audience, Senator?
Well, geez, we had 36,000 people out in Los Angeles 34,000 people in Colorado.
Stop being such
We had
babies.
30,000 people in Folsom, California, which is kind of a rural area. I think the American people are not quite as dumb as Ms. Larkin thinks they are. I think they understand very well.
No,
And
I
the
just
top
made it out of
1%
some
owns more
American
wealth than the
toast.
bottom 90%. When big money interests are able to control both political parties, they are living in an oligarchy. And these are precisely
He wants to lose weight. I'm not force feeding him anything. He's the one who accepts it.
When Mr. Musk can spend
He doesn't have to eat it.
$270 million to elect Trump and then becomes the most important.
Did Vio hack my stream again?
Oh, bye.
The pickle pervert is here.
Person in government or an APAC and other super PACs have enormous power over Democratic candidates. Those are issues that we have got to talk about. That is the reality of American society today. The very rich getting richer, working class people are struggling, 800,000 people sleeping out on the streets. If we don't address that issue, the American people will continue to turn their backs on democracy because they're looking around them and they're saying, does anybody understand what I am going through? And unfortunately, right now, to a large degree, neither party does.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, I have a lot more questions. We are unfortunately out of time. We'll have you back soon. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Holy shit. I'm very sorry for that time I came in and chatted that you were lucky that Trump is a cop because I realized that it was easily misunderstood. I mean, yeah, no, I am lucky that he is incompetent.
I am. Sam, are you going to live stream your debate tonight? I don't want to watch it on H3's stream.
I'm sure people will clip it.
D-Hire, Sam, you're seriously not going to stream it on your channel?
Stream it on your channel! What are they doing? Stream it on your channel! You fucking insane! Don't let him have you on the show! Stream it on your channel! What the fuck are they doing? Boomer! Boomer! Are you okay? I'm sorry for losing it, but what? Stream it on your channel, you fucking boomer! Calmest mic reaction, yeah. Sometimes you just have to yell. I've been feeling kind of like, I've been feeling on edge. You know what I mean? Like, I've been feeling on edge because politics is just so dangerous right now. And these fucking evil pieces of shit are so irredeemable. It's just like the hatred in my heart was always strong. It's now, my heart is blackened with hate. The Zio-Nazis are disgusting. We're kidnapping people off the street because they're radical pacifists in favor of peace. Are you worried about the debate going badly? No, I just don't want H3 to get the viewership. That's literally it.
I don't know how to do that. Ask Ethan his opinion about Jewish Voice for Peace if you want to have a more interesting conversation. Jewish Voice for Peace. Watch out for talking with Ethan. He's going to have Sam Cedar step in as a pinch debater at the last second. What a fucking nightmare.
That would fuck you up.
All right, I put my 2 cents in, chat. I tried. I am highly urging them to have it on their stream. I did everything I can. Can you message them? Yeah, I will. I'll do what I can. I want to make sure that they are streaming it as a competitor to Ethan, because you don't want Ethan to have the full stream to himself, right? You want to also have your own stream in case he like tries to silence you or mute you. You don't want to give him that power. And also you're helping promote. You're promoting him quite a bit when you do that. First time viewer, love your fire, dude. Tell me I'm cooked when anytime I contact my elected officials, they just jerk themselves off and say vote harder. I mean, like, what, are you surprised? My favorite thing that I saw, so Hassan had a negative article written about him in Barry Weiss's worthless fucking grifter paper. But the funny thing that was really, the thing that is really funny, and this is for the people that were like, Mike, it doesn't matter if you like look really good and have a good camera and you know your set looks nice. That doesn't matter at all. It's like, motherfucker, what are you talking about? The handsome face of terror apologia. It is very funny that all of Hassan's sworn enemies are forced to admit he's handsome. It's like one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things is how much Ethan Klein, Destiny, all the right wingers are like, it's just because he's sexy. It's just because he's hot. They get so fucking mad. Like they treat him like Asmongold talking about a female streamer. People only watch her because she's hot. They're not watching it for pure reasons, like when they watch me. I fucking love it. I fucking love it. But apparently Hassan is so hot that just by putting his name in my title, I could get 5,000 people to watch me. That's how hot he is, guys. Because people are only watching him because he's hot. And because he's so hot, people will just go into my stream and watch my stream just because I put his name in my title. That's the level of cope they're on. That's the level of cope they're on. My favorite thing that people call me is the Hassan waiting room, because it's true. If you watch Hassan, you're obligated to watch me first. You absolutely have to watch me first. Honestly, if you watch me first, this is just the Hassan, like, I know what Hassan's gonna say or talk about, and so you're gonna get a preview of 90% of what Hassan's gonna talk about. So you already know what Hassan's takes are gonna be. And you could even have links ready, and you could even like be a better chatter, because if you're a Mike for PA chatter, you're gonna be a better Hassan watcher, because you're gonna be prepared for what he's gonna talk about. You're gonna have links ready. You're gonna have like good points. You're gonna look smarter. So like all the Mike for PA chatters are gonna naturally look smarter than the gray names. It's just beneficial to you. I saw Hassan at TYT and thought, wow, he's Zowie, who was that? Which led me to his stream and everyone I discovered via Hassan, like Mike and Denim. So true. I originally came here for that, but switched between here and Majority Report based on mood. Honestly valid. Honestly valid. Sometimes even everyone knows best chatters in Hassan streams are bots. Good luck outsmarting AI. AI is dumb. AI is dumb. I actually consider it to be an IQ test, how intelligent you think AI is. AI... First of all, I could clock it instantly when I know an AI statement's being uttered. The second thing is they're overly obsequious, ingratiating, and they're very surface level. It's like when I was an undergraduate and I was writing my term paper, the hour before it was due, not the night before, the hour before. How many of you have done that? I used to do this thing in college where I was so good at writing essays that I wouldn't even work on it the night before. I would go earlier, like say my class was at like 4 p.m. I would just go to the lab at like 11 and I would just write it. I would just write it there. I would pull sources. And right then, that's an A. That's the level of shit that I would say is an AI prompt response. It's on that level. You're not getting anything that's actually going to really educate you or challenge you in any way, because it's very obsequious. And I think this is an intentional branding technique. Like the models will just assume your frame is correct and they will try to be very obsequious to your frame. And I think if you're low IQ, you don't notice it, but I think because I read critically, I think it's weird and off-putting. It's like I don't want somebody who's just going to be my like sycophant. I want another intelligent researcher, which they cannot do. Maybe in the future they'll get better, but right now it's dog shit. It's good for like if you were like, name the NPC characters in my D&D village. It would be good for that. You know what I mean? Like it's good for stuff like that, where you're like, what is the name of my half-orc blacksmith in my D&D campaign? I had a professor say, don't forget that book report in 2 days. I had forgotten it. I read the book and wrote a 10-page report and got a B+ in 48 hours. I mean, that's like every paper I ever wrote in college. Condom hummus and condemn hummus. You guys are the best. I coded an app using AI. You vibe coded an app? Oh, no. Oh, it's over, chat. It's so over. It's so over. The amount of security fucking it's so over. It's so over. I get in trouble at work for bullying the people that code in AI, honestly. Well, yeah, because they want to be able to just, I swear, like we're going to 40K world where people don't know how technology works anymore. Like people are just going to see technology as like a religious thing where you get orders from a computer and then you like you don't really know what's going on. Like that's actually the future, because I just know how like people are just not. It's like I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. How many of you drive without using Navigator? How many of you like know your town well enough that you just drive around without ever using the Navigator? Or your city, if you live in a city. I'm glad that a lot of you are doing that, but many people don't. Many people don't. Like people just don't know where the fuck they are half the time. They completely rely on these technological shortcuts. And it makes sense. You're being economical with your brain power, right? You're not spending time trying to like figure something out that you can get the answer, which makes sense. But then you lack this ability to do it when you need it. My boomer, to be fair, I use it for traffic data at Nicescope. Nicescope. I, for one, am happy to learn writing from the BBC's Agatha Christie. AI Agatha Christie. Okay, I can read. BBC's AI Agatha Christie, which is a real thing. Oh, no. I can read, I swear. All right, Trump. It's time to watch the Trump interview. His first 100 days. President Trump, the first 100 days. ABC did an interview. Prepare your... This is the leader of the planet. If aliens showed up tomorrow, this is the man they would go and talk to. Does that frighten you? It frightens me. In kind of an existential threat. Like an existential way. Unless they had analyzed America and landing in China... Like unless they analyze the, maybe they might land in China. That's the thing that makes me like happy, because they might land in China and be talking to Xi, in which case the human race would be okay. All right. If the aliens went and talked to Xi, we'll be fine. If they went and talked to Trump, we are fucked.
J. Trump on his 100th day in office. From the #1 issue, the economy.
People are worried. Even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns? Well, they did sign up for it.
America is spikier? No. China is where all the industrial activity is going. Like if you look at the world right now, the most developed region looks like China. That's where like all the factories are and all the machinery and all the dense population. And like you would go to China if you were just like observing the planet from orbit. Unless you had a really, really sophisticated analysis of military units and you rated that higher than economic power, and you kind of could understand the nation state system. Like it depends on how deep the aliens analyzed us first.
To immigration.
It is an undeniable fact that
anchor and
tariffs.
Office BBC News anchor and senior national correspondent Terry Moran.
Earlier today, I sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office for an exclusive interview on his 100th day of his second term. It was a great opportunity.
Why would an alien race see non-spacefaring species as anything other than meat for a meat grinder or slaves? Because a society that achieved space travel would almost certainly not have the cultural and backwardness of seeing other sentient life as something to be exploited and enslaved. Like if you could travel between a star, meaning you had access to all of the resources of a star system, slaves are like not really valuable. Like human slaves would not be something you would value. You would value like cultural exchange or maybe just observation. You wouldn't be like, well, I need to get that slave. Like that's a very human mentality. Like if you have the access to the entire resources of the Oort cloud, what the fuck are you coming on Earth to steal? There's literally nothing here other than life itself. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
To ask him some wide-ranging questions about the issues that most concern so many Americans. We talked about the economy and his tariffs. We talked about immigration and those deportations. And you can see here the White House has put up some posters that they say show some of the violent criminals that have so far been deported.
I definitely feel like aliens would be like non-interference. Like until we could go out and start, finding them, I feel like, advanced aliens would definitely be non-interference. You know what I mean? The Glorpians would not want to come down on our planet at this point. Like imagine receiving our broadcast in space and you seeing Donald Trump as the leader and you would do it. No, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. That reminds me of one of my most favorite episodes of Star Trek. It's this First Contact episode. All these people are not good at this. It's basically about a civilization where they just develop warp travel, which is faster than light travel. And so the Federation does non-interference with societies until they develop warp technology, and then the Federation sends diplomats to engage in first contact. Because when you have warp technology, it's only a matter of time before you start running into other species out there. And, since they're in Federation space, the Federation wants to approach them and be like, hey, you know, this is the, you know, galactic neighborhood. Here's what's going on. And then they began to, like, you know, trade and you know, if a society's ready, integrate it into the Federation, right? So they send, one of the things that the Federation does is they send in infiltrators so they could get a full picture of the political, cultural, and religious belief and all that. And Commander Riker, the fuck up, gets injured in a protest and gets taken to a hospital where they discover he's not really one of these aliens. So fucking Jean-Luc Picard has to rush the first contact while also trying to get Riker back before the aliens figure it out.
I've been saving this for a special occasion. My brother on Earth produces a fruit known as grapes, which he turns into wine. He's really quite good at it. Chancellor, we have a tradition called a toast. It is a drink to salute one's friends and good fortune, and I would like to propose a toast to our new friendship.
We have something very much like this on Malcor 3.
I think we shall find we have much in common.
And much that is not in common.
An opportunity to learn from one another.
You speak the language of diplomacy very well, Captain. It's a language I appreciate and understand. But I have learned to not always trust it.
Trust requires time and experience.
My world's history has recorded that conquerors often arrived with the words, "We are your friends."
We are not here as conquerors, Chancellor.
What do you want?
A beginning. But how we proceed is entirely up to you.
And if my wishes should conflict with yours?
There'll be no conflict.
And if I should tell you to leave and never return to my world?
We will leave and never return. Chancellor, we are here only to help guide you into a new era. I can assure you, we will not interfere in the natural development of your planet. That is, in fact, our prime directive.
I can infer from that directive that you do not intend to share all this exceptional technology with us.
That is not the whole meaning, but it is part of it.
Is this your way of maintaining superiority?
Chancellor, to instantly transform a society with technology would be harmful, and it would be destructive.
You're right, of course. I'm overwhelmed, Captain Picard. I'm quite overwhelmed. I go home each night to a loving wife, 2 beautiful daughters, eat the evening meal together as a family. I think that's important.
I'm imagining Trump doing, like, can you imagine if Trump was up in an alien spaceship and they were like, he's like, wow, it's all computer. It's all computer in here.
And they always ask me if I've had a good day.
And how will you answer them tonight, Chancellor?
I will have to say this morning, I was the leader of the universe as I know it. This afternoon, I'm only a voice in a chorus. But I think it was a good day.
He'd be like, I hear you guys have fusion energy and it's completely green and you're not allowed to use it. You have to use clean coal. And anytime you say coal, you have to call it clean. That's the new rule I made. It's all clean. No fusion energy. No dilithium crystals. We don't want your gay fusion energy. We all like our clean coal. Anyway, a Hispanic family that barely speaks English moved in next to me and I saw their dad works construction. I reported them to ICE and day. Oh my God. Guys, we're so triggered. An Asmongold fan is making a racist statement. Wow, it was so creative too. He said that he reported someone. Wow. Bro, I think you don't know what the Central Committee stream is about. I don't think you understand what the left is really like. I think you watch too much liberal shit, to be honest with you.
China is seriously going balls to the wall with AI. They are now keeping their servers
Is this guy AI? Is this an AI podcaster?
freaking water. China's newest underwater data center uses the ocean as its natural cooling system, eliminating the massive energy costs that are holding back AI development in the West. While Microsoft gave up on their underwater experiment despite technical success, China's subsea computing cluster near Hainan is fully operational and rapidly expanding. One underwater module delivers computing power equivalent to 30,000 high-end gaming PCs running simultaneously, capable of powering 8,000 DeepSeek AI conversations per second. Why does this matter? China's underwater approach solves the biggest problem in AI cooling. Servers generate enormous heat, but by submerging them, Shenzhen high cloud technology eliminated costly air conditioning systems that drain both power and profits. Microsoft abandoned their Project Natick despite servers failing 8 times less than traditional ones, claiming it wasn't practical for their needs. Meanwhile, China is doubling down, planning 100 underwater modules.
I literally don't have any ability to know what is the right call. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, this AI video doesn't tell me much. Sam Cedar bingo card for the debate. Hassan mentioned, oh, this is so good. This is so good. Wait, generate your card here at bingobaker.com. Dan, pull that shit up. Self-hating Jew. Tim Houthi Chalamet. Hamas hospitals, Nakba denialism, CPS call, Hassan mentioned, no apartheid, Gila was the secretary, Mike or Frogan mentioned, I mean, that's a free space too. I'm for a 2-state solution. Denims or Vatipanata mentioned. Assad is a terrorist. Button press. What are Israelis supposed to do? October 7th happened. Swastika sword. Abra hummus. Sam is captured by Hassan. This is, oh man, this is so good. Holy shit. Banana Coup twin. You are a legend. You are a god. We love you here at the Central Committee stream. Holy shit. This is so good. Chat, if you want your own Sam Cedar, Ethan Klein bingo. All right, I need to make a post about this. Chat, I'm just going to manifest this. I'm just going to spread disinformation and hope that it becomes true. I'm just going to spread disinformation and hope that it comes true. I don't want them to spend all the... Instead of like try to correct it, they'll just be like, you know what? We should stream it on our channel. Now, this is a white lie, chat. This is a white lie. Oh, fuck. I lost the link. I lost the link, chat. I'm just kidding. It's right here. All right, we're manifesting. Apparently, Sam Cedar is going to be debating Ethan Klein tonight on his channel, Majority FM. Here's my bingo card. If you'd like to generate one yourself, look at my replies for the link. And then, what? Sir? Sir? Here, let me see here. I want to give the original Reddit link. Original Reddit source. I want everybody to be able to find everything and generate themselves. Beautiful. And here is the link in case you want your own bingo card. Remove the share data from your link. Oh, you're right. You're so right. It's just like, it's like here, right? It's just that. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, chatter. Beautiful. Good point, chat. Did you see the statement from the Vermont judge that ordered Moisten free and had cited the Red Scare and McCarthyism as 2 things he saw as directly corollary? Oh, of course. All right, let's watch the Trump stupid fucking Trump interview. And if it sucks, we'll watch something else.
About a lot more as well. The president's answers were provocative, at times combative, and always he was strong in his convictions about his policies. But before we get to the interview, we begin tonight with a look inside the Oval Office that Donald Trump has transformed.
Hello, everybody. How are you? This is the Oval Office. This is the Resolute desk, which is really something very spectacular. There's nothing quite like it. And they give you a choice of about 7 different desks, but this is the one I chose. Ronald Reagan had it. FDR had it. A few people had it, but I found it to be the most beautiful.
It is amazing.
This is an amazing space. and amazing, maybe architecturally wonderful, but amazing for what it represents. It represents the U.S. And
wait. Before we watch this, Vietnamese kids reenact the liberation of Saigon. That reminds me of one of my favorite posts I ever made that I personally like watching quite a bit. Oh, fuck. I have to scroll and find it. I should really favorite this. Fuck. Why haven't I favorited this post? Why did I never favorite this post? Oh, here it is. Okay.
Personally, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that the United States of America is being humiliated and is leaving an area that we had come to defend, and we've been defeated.
This is the former ambassador to South Vietnam.
I'm embarrassed that the United States of America is being humiliated.
He's talking about how he had to evacuate through a military helicopter.
We had come to defend, and we've been defeated.
Ah, so awesome.
And if properly used, a lot of good things can happen.
I see Ronald Reagan over there.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan.
Right to your left.
Being in the Oval Office is very important. See Ronald Reagan here and put him a little bit larger. It sort of seemed to fit very nicely. You have Democrats a little bit. You have
Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt. So you look at that picture and people say, well, what's he doing up there? But look, he was a serious president, whether we like it or not. He was a four-termer and went through a war. You have Lincoln, you have Washington, but you look over here, that's Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine.
Why is he up there?
I think the Monroe Doctrine was pretty important. That was his claim to fame. Oh.
You guys think he knows what it is? Do you guys think Donald Trump knows what the Monroe Doctrine is? Like if somebody was like, what is it? For our watchers, what is the Monroe Doctrine? They're not as educated as you, sir. What is the Monroe Doctrine? Like, that's how I would ask the question. I mean, President Trump, our viewers aren't as educated as you, so they might not know. What is the Monroe Doctrine?
Over here, you have the original of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
I don't consider myself to be nostalgic or, a jingoist or even an American, nationalist in any way. But I think every human being has a smidge somewhere deep of patriotism for their homeland. Like, the place you come from, part of your identity, whether I like it or not, is that I'm an American. I think whatever remaining shred of like American identity I had was just utterly obliterated by the idea that this feckless fat fuck who's dumber than fucking dirt is sitting at FDR's desk rambling and just completely fucking stupid. Like, how could you have any amount of reverence for these objects at that point? It's just a laughable joke.
Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration.
What does the Declaration of Independence mean to you? It's exactly what it says. It's a declaration. Chat, this is Donald Trump. This is Xi Jinping.
And territorial. Party leadership and law-based governance are not in conflict, but inherently coherent. Our country's laws embody the will of the party and the people, and our party acts in accordance with the law, which manifests an inseparable relationship between the two. All party members should keep in mind that the party leadership is the soul of our country's socialist rule of law and the biggest difference between Chinese and Western rule of law. All party while others are to self-determination. This sensitivity is reflected in China's adherence to the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence: mutual respect for territorial integrity, mutual non-aggression, non-interference in each other's internal affairs, mutual benefit, and peaceful coexistence with regard to ideological differences. We have never abused, oppressed, or subjugated the people of any other country, and we never will. By the same token, we will never allow any foreign force to abuse, oppress, or subjugate us. Anyone who would attempt to do so would find themselves on a collision course with a great wall of steel forged by over 1.4 billion Chinese people. Big countries should treat smaller ones as equals instead of acting as hegemons, imposing their wills on others. A country cannot have security while others are in turmoil, as threats facing other countries are likely to haunt it too. When neighbors are in trouble, instead of strengthening one's own forces, one should extend a helping hand to them. As the saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. All countries should pursue common, comprehensive, and sustainable security through cooperation. For all the rhetoric about a clash of civilizations or the superiority of one civilization over another, it is the diversity of civilizations that sustains human progress. Indeed, mutual learning between different cultures is a shared aspiration of all peoples. When these benchmarks had been laws and regulations and improve those that are of capital and fair competition. Traffic on the road needs a global financial crisis to grow the numbers of the world is about 1 billion. China oriented and green development. Xi Jinping's vision for the future of China is of a green, environmentally sustainable, and beautiful nation, leading the world in sustainable technologies and development to move towards a model of ecological civilization. He explains the necessity of green development for China by pointing out that the total population of well-off countries in the world is about 1 billion. China has more than 1.3 billion people. If we are all to become modernized, the well-off population must more than double. If we were to consume as much energy and production in daily lives as the present well-off people do, all of the existing resources in the world would be far from enough for us. The old path seems to be a dead end. Where is the new road? It lies in scientific and technological innovation and in the accelerated transition from factor-driven and investment-driven growth to innovation-driven growth. In an overall effort of progressing towards a future that is both prosperous and sustainable, China's high-tech sector continues to develop new green technologies, such as electric vehicles, hydropower, nuclear energy, energy storage systems, smart grids, green infrastructure, solar and wind energy, as well as carbon capture technologies. We should endeavor to build a green, clean, and beautiful world. The Earth is the only shared home for humanity. Now, a few individuals are trying to find a new home in outer space, but that is still a distant dream. In the foreseeable future, human beings still need to live on this planet. This is a fact that will not change. We must defend the Earth's boundaries, both tangible and intangible, to ensure harmony between humanity and nature. We need to improve planning regarding our territorial space, implement our functional zoning strategy, and draw up red lines for ecological conservation. We should accelerate efforts to establish a system of nature reserves, improve biodiversity protection networks, and set reasonable spatial limits for economic and social activities. We will never again seek economic growth at the cost of the environment.
Of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot, and it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there, I'm not familiar with that one, but I think when I'm looking at that famous line in the second inaugural with malice toward...
Can I have a link? Oh, you've never seen the Xi Jinping thought explained? Okay, here you go. Most Americans have never heard a word that Xi has ever said. Outside of like, Taiwan is part of China. Other than that, most Americans have never heard a single argument from Xi.
Dismiss it as an illusion or choose not to be loyal communists just because there is a long way to go. Our revolutionary ideals are of supreme importance. Communism is the ultimate ideal of communists, and it needs generations of strenuous effort to achieve. If we all see it as no more than an illusion, if we deem it unworthy of hard work and sacrifice, communism will never come. What we do today in upholding and developing Chinese socialism is the real effort towards the ultimate ideal. Revolutionary ideals are more important than anything else. The party is called the Communist Party of China because since day one, our party has made communism its highest ideal. The reason our party is able to rise again and again through hardships and adversities is because the party has always held on to this great ideal and aspiration. In addition to the Chinese classics of Marxism-Leninism, members of the Communist Party are also encouraged to gain an appreciation of the best traditions of Chinese thought, such as Confucianism. Confucian ideals of ethical leadership, moral governance, and social harmony align well with the party's focus on integrity, particularly in regards to anti-corruption efforts. Xi Jinping sees Confucianism as complementary to the larger framework of socialist governance, integrating it into a larger Marxist framework and worldview.
And I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty because their factories are not doing business. They made $1 trillion with Biden, $1 trillion, even $1.1 trillion with Biden selling us stuff. Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way. They have ships that are loaded up with stuff, much of which, not all of it, but much of which we don't need. And I told you before, they're having tremendous difficulty.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang warns China is not behind in AI. The U.S. economy shrank by 0.3% in the first quarter. It's so funny because the U.S. economy is actually getting smaller. And when the Chinese economy only grows by 5%, American newspapers are like, ah, they're only growing by 5%. The U.S. is shrinking.
Right. Charity total.
Well, he's like legitimately, like, I didn't even have anything to say because Donald Trump is a fucking idiot. Donald Trump is a fucking moron.
He was a great president. He went through a lot.
And the Oval Office is always changing between presidents. And
it changes,
that says something.
It does.
What does this say about how you feel about
Chad,
the
I
country?
just realized something. We are 4 hours into the stream and I forgot to shill. If you enjoy this content, if you like learning about things like an adult and not being spoon-fed your conclusions like a baby, then please consider supporting this stream by subscribing. The #1 goal I have for this stream is to teach you how to think, not what to think. And what I mean by that is teaching you how to be skeptical, how to be critical readers, how to understand and analyze politics and history and law and economics through a material lens, not a lens that is liberal or idealistic or utopian or just takes whatever bullshit propaganda you're being spoon-fed, but rather somebody who could look at primary sources or look at information and derive objective empirical evaluations and then apply a materialist lens to make predictions for the future. If you do that, you will find yourself, instead of saying Mike was right, you'll say Velcro chicken was right. This is, I'm trying to wrinkle your brain. And so if you value that, then you've got to support this stream by subscribing at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub. If you have Amazon Prime, attach it to your Twitch account. That's 1 free sub a month. $2.50 from Jeff Bezos' pocket you're putting into mine. You are doing that because I don't have sponsorships. I don't run ads. You get this viewers, you get to see this ad free. So if you like it ad free, if you like the fact that we get to talk about these issues like an adult, and I treat you with respect, and I don't just try to manipulate you and hype you up over bullshit, but rather teach you a certain way of approaching the world and politics and this information, while also trying to be entertaining and cathartic. If you value that, please consider supporting the stream by subscribing. There's a lot of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. So if you do value the stream and you've got a couple extra bucks lying around, if you were working from home as some sort of like lazy ass motherfucking, make work IT son of a bitch, you know who you are. You work 3 hours a fucking month, then support the stream by gifting. Help out those people that can't afford to pay for the subs. All right. Thank you very much.
Country and the office.
Well, I think it says I love the country. I mean, I'm putting pictures of presidents up that have never been up, pictures that weren't largely used, and in many cases, great men, in this case men, but great men of great achievement.
And your every detail, it seems.
Yeah.
This is your office.
I'm a very detailed person. I'm a very clean person. I like cleanliness. I like to see this space be treated properly. I've added a lot to the space in terms of beautification, In terms of modernization, that's
a gallery of presidents.
It really is. It really is. So, and it's an honor to have you people with us.
Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Here in the Oval Office, it's special. 100 days into your second term. So, what's the one thing, just one thing, that you think is the most significant thing you've done so far in these 100 days?
Well, I think maybe the border is the most significant because our country was really going bad. They were allowing people to come in from prisons, as you know, and you've heard me say it, but you've heard a lot of people say it. Prisons, mental institutions, gang members, murderers. We had many murders, 11,888, they think. Some murdered more than one person. So you had murderers coming in, you had everybody coming in, and not just South America, from all over the world. They were emptying their prisons into our country. And now it's totally closed down. And you've seen just yesterday, they announced 99.9%. Nobody thought that could happen. And it happened quickly, very quickly. And I think that's very significant. But we're doing other things that are very significant. Results will take a little bit longer because it's one of those, you know, it's complicated. It's many years of trading abuse. We've been abused by other countries for years and years. They laughed at us. They thought we were stupid people. And we're fixing it. And I think that's going to be very, very important. But I
have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, I would really say that the border is so important. You know, just
and we'll get there. Immigration, huge,
yeah.
And we're going to get there. But I want to start with the economy, the number one issue for so many people, for just about everybody. It's one of the main reasons that you're back in this office. And now we have this trade war with China that Moody's and other analysts say is going to cost American families thousands of more dollars per year. And there is a lot of concern out there. People are worried, even some people who voted for you saying, I didn't sign up for this. So how do you answer those concerns?
Well, they did sign up for it, actually, and this is what I campaigned on. I said that we've been abused by other countries at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We were losing $3 to $5 billion a day on trade.
He's so fucking stupid. You know what we trade with countries? They give us stuff, right? Like, you understand they're giving us stuff, man. Like, if I go to McDonald's and I buy a cheeseburger, I didn't lose $5. I got a cheeseburger for $5. And I used that cheeseburger to consume, not McDonald's, because they're BDS. If I go to fucking, what's not BDS? I go to Wendy's and buy a cheeseburger, or Culver's or In-N-Out or whatever, and go to a cookout and bring meat I bought, I got sustenance in exchange for my money. I got a need met. It's Mr. Murphy. Thank you for the 20 bomb. IT Medic, thank you for the tier 3. GT Buzzsaw, M Gauntlet, Singang Super, Green Bass Guy. Thank you all for supporting the stream with your big fat gifties. You guys are the best. Theoretical Hair, thank you for all the gifties today. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20 bomb. Is there anyone else who dropped a bunch of subs that I forgot to thank? Looks like we're good. Thank you, everybody, for all the subs and the resubs and the gifties. You guys are the best.
We were losing $1.5 trillion to $2 trillion a year.
It's a global economy. The money we spend on China comes back to us in the form of the investment in our bond market because they want us to keep. Yes, they buy bonds. They also buy American assets, which inflates them. So if you own American assets, the trade deficit results in people coming to this country and buying shit on our stock market or on a real estate market. Now, there's a lot of distortions that happen based on that. But if you already own a home or you own stonks, then it's good for you. So it's kind of funny to see Trump dismantling this, which is ruining our ability to get products because they don't exist. The manufacturing in America doesn't exist. So it's going to cause massive inflation. It's going to cause recession, and it's going to devalue American assets. I think this country is done.
Not sustainable. They were taking advantage of us like they've never. I could have left it that way, and at some point there would have been an implosion like nobody's ever seen. But I said, no, we have to fix it. I've wanted to do this for many years. You know, I had the best economy during my first term. We had a tremendous
Is it okay to be ableist about a president this stupid? Okay. It's not ableism to attack someone who is not diagnosed with, you know, it's not, to call him stupid is not ableism. Like, it's not. And if your job is to walk around trying to tell people not to be mean to Trump, shut your fucking mouth. Shut the fuck up. Go do something else.
Economy, tremendous success. And we did tremendous numbers of tariffs on, we took in a lot of money from tariffs, China in particular, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs.
Americans pay that.
No inflation, as you know, we had an incredible economy. We're given credit for a great economy. But I said, we have to fix this, otherwise it's just not self-sustaining.
But one of the things you ran on was you'd said you'd bring prices down on day one, and that it would happen fast, and that it would happen fast. And
I have.
Most economists will tell you that tariffs will raise prices. So don't your tariffs cut against that promise you made to bring prices down?
No, because I had massive tariffs on China, if you remember, in my first term, and we had essentially no inflation, like around 1% inflation, which is like a perfect number. And then when Biden took over, it went through the roof. It went to probably the worst inflation we've ever had. I mean, we had an inflation nightmare. Now, if you look at what's happening now, we're only there for 100 days, as you say. And in 100 days, we took over. We had bad inflation for 4 years, for 2 years of, especially 2 years of his administration. I would say record-setting like we've never seen. They say 48 years, the worst in 48 years. I say it was much worse than that.
Yeah.
Right. So now if you look at what's happened, energy is down. Gasoline hit $1.98 in a few states during the last couple of days. It was $3.50 and $4 and $4.50. But gasoline is way down. When I took over, you remember the big thing with eggs. They hit me the first week. Eggs, like it was my fault. I said, I didn't cause this problem. This problem was caused by Biden. What's the problem with eggs? And they said, they've doubled. And well, eggs are down 87% since I got involved.
A lot of that is bird flu.
And by the way, and there were
right?
plenty of eggs for Easter, which we just went through. There were plenty of eggs for Easter. They were saying you won't have enough eggs for Easter. My secretary did a fantastic job on eggs. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
Okay.
Interest rates are the same. Interest rates should be down, but we have a Federal Reserve that wants to be stubborn. They want to be cute.
All right, we'll get to that. You said something a couple weeks ago that struck me. You said
it really does remind me of. I think the best person to compare to Trump really is Erdogan. I think he's America's Erdogan. Like as I'm listening to him, I'm just like, what leader I know people have compared him to like other right-wing leaders in Europe, and I'm like, he just doesn't have that same level of sharpness behind the eyes as some of the other fascist leaders. Erdogan has the same kind of way of staring, kind of unfocused and blathering.
concerning the tariffs, which economists say are going to raise prices, you said, quote, hang tough. Yeah. It won't be easy. You said that to the American people. Is that what Americans should expect, some hard times?
I've said that during my campaign. Look, we won a campaign by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the popular vote by a lot. You know, we had a tremendous campaign. I said all of these things during my campaign. I said, you're going to have a transition period. We've been ripped off by every country all over the world. They're laughing at us. They thought we were stupid.
He did not say that. Can you like, guys, do some fact checking, or like maybe he's just lying right now? Like, the thing about the lying is OP thing is the media doesn't prove that he's a liar. They just let him say the lies, which makes the lies even more OP.
People, and we were. And I said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let that happen.
Hard times are ahead?
I don't think so. I think great times are ahead. Look, since I came in, gasoline is down, groceries are down, egg prices are down, many things are down, just about everything. You know, you don't have the drop in fuel and energy and oil like we did. I took it from maybe $3.20, maybe more than that, down into a much lower number. When you have that kind of a drop, you're not going to have inflation.
Not now, but it's the tariffs, right? We still have 145% tariffs on China. Your Treasury Secretary said we basically have an embargo on China.
Look, you're trying to say something's going to happen, Terry.
No, okay, well,
nothing's going to happen.
You know business.
Terry,
I want to ask you.
I do know business.
Yes, so 145% tariffs on China, and that is basically an embargo.
They deserve it.
It'll raise prices on everything from electronics to clothing to building houses.
You don't know that. You don't know what whether or not China's going to eat it.
That's mathematics.
China probably will eat those tariffs, but at 145, they basically can't do much business with the United States. And they were making from us $1 trillion a year. They were ripping us off like nobody's ever ripped us off. And by the way, we have other countries that were just as bad. If you look at the European Union, it was terrible what they've done to us. Every country, almost every country in the world was ripping us off. They're not doing that anymore.
I want you to think about the boom that this country has had in small businesses, mom and pop Etsy stores, small businesses that became
they
big
haven't
businesses.
had a boom because of inflation.
Well,
the boom was inflationary boom. The people were wiped out with inflation. I mean, you read the news, you do the business
now
stuff, I
face,
assume.
Now, a lot of them built those businesses on the trading model.
Yeah, and they're going to make more money
They
now.
sourced their products overseas, and now they're looking at an extinction event.
I've been here.
It's a disaster for them.
I've been here for 3 months. I've taken a trade deficit down to a number that's very, very starting to get really good. I just got here. We had a country that it was not sustainable. What Biden did to this country between the open borders where criminals poured into our country, between every country in the world ripping us off on trade, it was not sustainable.
So your message to those small businesses who are saying, we can't live a month, 2 months with these tariffs. Apple got a big deal. Is there something for them?
No, not only Apple. We've got $7 to $8 trillion being invested in our country in 2 months. Biden didn't have that over a year. I mean, if you look at Biden, nobody was really investing in this country. Everybody was ripping off our country. Apple's putting up $500 billion, but that's only one of many companies. Companies are flooding into our country right now.
So your answer to the concern about the tariffs is everything's going to be hunky-dory?
Everything.
I think the thing about Trump in particular is he just makes the job of caring about politics feel embarrassing. It's just like all the studying I did, all the writing I did, all the marching, all the organizing, all the thought, all the advocacy. He just makes you into a clown. He makes you into a joke. Like you took this shit seriously, and this is the guy who won it all twice. Tens of millions of people looked at this guy and was like, yeah, he should run the country. I mean, how can you come to any conclusion but that they're subhuman? Like that they're not human beings in the same way that you are. Like looking at Donald Trump and being like, yeah, he's a good choice. I mean, it's just, you have to just, the assumptions that are in your brain for that to be the correct answer. It's mind numbing. That's not on us. Dems have a lot of culpability. Of course. I didn't say vote for this fuck. I'm talking about the people who absolutely affirmatively voted for him. I'm not talking about the alternative. I'm talking about the tens of millions of people that got off their ass or filled out a ballot to vote for this fuck. He's not even funny. It's 13 minutes. I haven't laughed once.
Things going to be just fine. It wouldn't have been if I didn't do this. I had a choice. I could leave it, have a nice, easy time, but I think ultimately you would have had an implosion. Our country had inflation that was worse than they've ever had it before. You don't mention that. Why don't you mention that? We had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. People say 48 years. Probably in the history of our country, we had the worst inflation. And people were dying over the inflation. You know that. Now the grocery prices are coming down. The energy prices are coming down. Gasoline's coming down. It's all heading in the right direction.
Okay, let's move on to immigration.
Coming up.
It is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline.
Mike, can you please consider the do a Chris Hedges interview?
But there are questions about your methods.
Yeah, we might watch it tomorrow.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Okay, let's move on to immigration. And as you said, it is an undeniable fact that illegal crossings at the southern border have plummeted, a staggering decline. But there are questions about your methods. And so I want to ask
about my message?
Methods, about your methods, how you're accomplishing
they seem to work.
Do you acknowledge that under our law, every single person who gets deported gets a hearing first to make their case?
Well, are we talking about people that are citizens of our country or not?
No, you're not deporting citizens.
You don't deport citizens, you fucking idiot. That's called exile. We don't have exile as a punishment in this country.
Since at this point.
Well, let me ask you, did they get hearings when Biden allowed 21 million, because I think the number is 20 million people to flow into our country? You had 20.
There's one thing that I need to talk about more, but if Donald Trump and the conservatives get their way, America's going the way of Korea. Well, our country's population will crash to 200 million by 2100. Like, the United States of America will basically be circling the fucking drain.
21 million people.
There won't be no 2100, bro. There will be some computer somewhere out in the cosmos ticking at this stupid Roman Catholic calendar. Even if we scorch each other with nuclear fire, there will be some calendar out there still running.
Into our country through a stupid open border, and they were prisoners, and they were people that you don't want in many cases in our country, right? They came from all over the world. They came from the Congo. They came from South. They came from all over the world. We're talking about some of the roughest countries in the world they had here, including terrorists, by the way. Now,
but
did we give them a hearing when they came in?
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first.
Well,
do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and if we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law
give
is the law,
million?
sir. The law is the law, and you're
the law
sworn
doesn't
to
say anything
uphold it.
about trials.
No, not trials, hearings. I said
These
hearings.
people came in, they're not citizens. They came in illegally. They came into our country illegally.
And
We have to get them out.
There's a legal process for that.
I can't, sure, and we follow the legal process. I can't have a trial, a major trial for every person that came in illegally. We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out,
They're
and we have to
bad
get them
guys,
out fast.
Really bad guys. But in our country, even bad guys get due process, right?
If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in.
How do you know they came in illegally if you don't ever prove it? You just make it up? That's the point, is that I honestly think they're too stupid. You just say, yeah, it's illegally. Okay, he doesn't have rights because he's not a citizen. How do you know he's a non-citizen? You didn't even give him the chance to prove that he's a citizen. How do you challenge an ICE agent who's been acting irresponsibly? What if an ICE agent arrests his ex-wife and deports her, saying she's an illegal immigrant, even though she's a total U.S. citizen? He claims she's not, and that's that? Moist Von Lip Wiggler. Thank you for the 20.
Illegally.
But they get due process.
That name,
Well,
though.
they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Right. All right, let's talk about the Venezuelans. You deported more than 200 Venezuelans to that prison in El Salvador. You say they're violent, they're gang members, they're terrorists. Many of them don't have a criminal record at all.
Well,
but I want to.
I'm not so sure about that. If you take a look,
I want to read you something.
Excuse me. When you look at those people, they were violent people. They were violent people.
But many of them don't have a criminal record
Go
at this
ahead.
point.
I don't know.
want
That's
to read
what you
something.
say.
Well, it's based on their lawyer, what their lawyers have said. Okay. Joe Rogan said this. Joe Rogan, one of the leading podcasters, Trump supporter, about the deportation of Venezuelans. He said, quote, rounding up gang members and shipping them to El Salvador with no due process, he said it was dangerous, and added, quote, we got to be careful that we don't become monsters while we're fighting monsters. Is Joe Rogan right?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. We want to be careful, and we are careful.
Imagine being a liberal. Imagine being a utopian who thinks you can talk to these people and convince them of anything. Imagine thinking that these people should be, I mean, embarrassing, dude.
We're doing something that has to be done. We have a country that's very sick. Joe Biden, and it's not him because I don't even think he knew what the hell was happening, but the people around him are vicious people. And what they've done to the country is unbelievable. They've allowed 21 million people to pour into our country. Many of these people are criminals. They've allowed you mentioned Venezuela, the jails of Venezuela to be emptied into the United States. Do you know Venezuela crime is way down? Way, way down. You know why? because their criminals are now living happily in the United States of America, and we're getting them out. And I was elected to get them out, and we're getting them out.
Under the law.
And we're getting them out fast, and we're getting them out legally. Now, in some cases, we have judges. In some cases, they're radical left judges. What happened the other day where a judge was protecting a criminal was horrible. And I think she's got big problems, frankly. And there are a couple of them like that.
I want to talk about one
Wait
man.
a minute.
Yep.
We have to be treated fairly by judges. And we're not being treated fairly by all judges.
The Anti-Semitism Awareness Act now has a religious liberty clause to protect Jews killed Jesus statements. So in other words, it's anti-Semitic to criticize Israel killing Palestinian children, but it's not anti-Semitic to say that Jews killed Jesus? The First Amendment is only for slurs, and the Second Amendment is only for school shootings. Welcome to America. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a subject. So you're saying that you don't like some of the rulings, some of the court orders?
I think the rulings will be overturned, yeah.
Well, let me ask you about one man and one court order. Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the Salvadoran man who crossed into this country illegally, but who is under a protective order that he not be sent back to El Salvador. Your government sent him back to El Salvador and acknowledged in court that was a mistake. And now the Supreme Court has upheld an order that you must return him to facilitate his return to the United States. What are you doing to comply?
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you know, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from Maryland.
I'm not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
He came
sir.
into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has
he's
ordered
not.
you to facilitate that.
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want to do this.
But the buck stops in this office.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
Supreme Court says what the law is.
Listen, I was elected to take care of a problem. It was a unforced error that was made by a very incompetent man, a man that turned out to be incompetent, that you always said was wonderful, great genius, right? And now you find out, all of the media now, they're saying what a mistake they made. A man who was grossly incompetent allowed us to have open borders where millions of people flowed in. I campaigned on that issue. I wouldn't say it was my #1 issue, but it was pretty close.
Right up there.
I campaigned on that issue. I've done an amazing job. I have closed borders. He said you couldn't do it. You wouldn't be able to do it. It would never happen. Well, it happened, and it happened very quickly. Wait a minute. When we have criminals, murderers, criminals in this country, we have to get them out, and we're doing it. And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Well,
over
wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So let me
That was Photoshop, Terry. You can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you.
I mean, it's just... And he's been giving him such a fucking softball interview. Such a softball interview, and he gets slapped in the face.
Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir. I want to get to Ukraine.
So basically, in other words, we're now in a situation where instead of saying, no, he didn't, he just conceded the whole thing. Why did you bring it up if you were just going to concede and then run away, you cowardly ass bitch?
No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No,
but they're
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at that,
Why don't you just say, yes, he does, and go on to something else?
It's contested. Ukraine.
Coming up, the Russia-Ukraine war.
Don't
you
forget,
think he wants peace? You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
And that historic meeting. President Trump, the first 100 days, continues.
I want to turn, I was just in Rome, and to that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Oh, these fucking cringe.
To that moving photograph of you and President Zelensky sitting in St. Peter's Basilica talking peace. It went around the world.
Oh, these fucking cringe lords. How do you people watch this shit?
Take us into that moment.
Well, look, the Ukraine is a very serious, very tough situation. And this is Biden's war. This is not my war, but I want to see if I can solve it because probably close to 5,000 young soldiers a week are being killed, Russian and Ukrainian. We also spend a tremendous amount of money in Ukraine, and Europe should be spending much more than us. They're not. They're spending much less. It's been badly handled by the Biden administration. It's been badly handled all the way around, the way around.
That moment.
The moment was a moment of solace, in a sense, because tremendous numbers of people are dying. A lot of his people are dying. They're being killed. And I feel very badly about it. I feel very badly about it. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. It was never even a thought of it happening.
It does feel like something's happening after that meeting with Zelensky in St. Peter's. You posted this on social media. There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas and cities and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe...
Well, that was part of my post, but you're right. That was a part of a post.
And it says, it makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along.
Yeah, that's possible. Sure.
He might be...
He could be tapping me along a little bit. I would say that he would like to stop the war. I think that if it weren't for me, I think he'd want to take over the whole country, personally. I always felt. So when I left, there wasn't even a chance that this would happen. When Biden got involved, I won't say whether or not he handled it properly, but obviously it wasn't good because the war started. Putin went in, the war started. I believe that Putin wanted to get all of Ukraine once he went in. And I think part of the reason he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan, how incompetently Milley and all these guys handled that. It was one of the greatest embarrassments of our lifetimes, but maybe in the history of our country. Okay, so Putin went in. I think Putin wanted all of Ukraine. Right. I think if I didn't win the election, he would have gotten all of Ukraine. I think he would have taken all of Ukraine. I think his first choice, never with me, he would have never gone in. With this group of losers, he went in, he saw what happened in Afghanistan. He said, wow, this is my chance. Because it was always the apple of his eye. I talked to him. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I think he wanted the whole country.
You said for months.
Because of me, I do believe that he's willing to stop the fighting. Don't forget,
think he wants peace?
Do
you think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
and
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo. You know. I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me just
I'm not.
I don't trust a lot of people. But I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. Okay. It's a war that never should have happened. It did happen because of incompetent people.
Last question on this.
But it never should have happened.
If there's no peace deal, will the U.S. cut off military aid to Ukraine?
I don't want to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you whether or not I would or not. I want to leave that as a big fat secret because I don't want to ruin a negotiation. But
I'd be worried
I will tell you, I was not happy when I saw Putin shooting missiles into a few towns and cities. And that was not something that I liked seeing, and I thought it was inappropriate. But I think the whole war is inappropriate. Okay. Again, it's a war that shouldn't have happened. This is a war that if the election weren't rigged, and it was totally rigged, the 2020 election, if it weren't rigged, you...
What can he even say at this point? He's a brain-dead idiot. He's a brain-dead fucking idiot. Every word that comes out of his mouth is bullshit or ego defense. He said their war will be over on day one. It's 100 days in. There's no progress. He's accomplished fuck all. The Middle East is even more unsettled than when he got into office. The Ukrainian war is no signs of slowing down. He's wrecked the U.S. economy. What are the wins of the Trump administration? What do people like about this fat fucking loser?
You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have had the embarrassment of Afghanistan. You wouldn't have October 7th with Israel. You wouldn't have had any of the problems that you have right now.
I want to ask one question.
You wouldn't have had inflation either.
All right. I want to ask one question about Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. There's a lot of turmoil at the Pentagon right now. There's the signal chat with his wife on it where he's discussing that attack in Yemen. There's another signal chat discussing the attack on Yemen. There's a reporter accidentally involved. You said the other day that you had a talk with the secretary. Did you take him to the woodshed?
I had a talk with him, and whatever I said, I probably wouldn't be inclined to tell you. But we had a good talk. He's a talented guy. He's young, he's smart, highly educated. And I think he's going to be a very good hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in
I don't
Pete
have 100% confidence in anything. Okay, anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look,
it's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
We will.
Let's go.
Coming up, President Trump on Elon Musk and Doge.
I love how he just knows how to threaten these fucking losers with the only thing they care about, which is their dumb fucking television show. I'm not sure we're going to finish this interview. That's why he wins. Because they're fucking so compliant.
Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly.
President Trump, the first 100 days continues.
Elon Musk and Doge. Everyone knows that there's wasteful government spending. It's really important.
Everybody knows the right-wing argument's right. Everybody knows. Do they know it? Can you prove it, you fucking idiot? Everybody knows. Oh, yeah? What do we know? Same thing with the immigration, same thing with Doge. This corporate fucking media is so compliant. It's unbelievable.
But the cuts have had some serious consequences. There have been cuts to foreign aid programs that save lives and keep people alive overseas. There's been research at the National Institutes of Health on cancer, on Alzheimer's, that has had to be stopped. And the question I think people have is, did Doge go too far, too fast, too recklessly?
No, I think Doge has been saved $150 billion. We saved, that's a lot of money.
No, it didn't. They just made that number up. It's made up.
There's also a lot of things right now under investigation, which is going to increase that amount by a lot. That's a tremendous amount of money. There are some things where, when I heard about them, I put them back, as you know. There are things that I'm considering right now putting back, but overall we've saved hundreds of billions of dollars.
Well, the original promise was $2 trillion, went to $1 trillion, now it's $150 billion and heading south.
We don't know what it's going to be because we have things that are at a very high level that are being looked at right now. We also found tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, as you know. We found a lot of fraud. There was a lot of fraud. Fraudulent things were taking place, and we ended that, and those people are going to be suffering because of it.
A legal note, fraud is a crime. There have been no referrals to the Justice Department on any.
Well, you don't know that, do you? How do you know that?
Have there been referrals to the? Are there
How would you know that there were no referrals? I think there were referrals.
They generally. All right. There's been no investigation from the Justice Department.
Know that?
I'm asking you, sir.
No, you're not asking me. You made a statement. You're not
now I'm asking you.
That was a statement that you made. There have been.
I'm asking you.
Have there been? Yes, there have.
So there have been referrals for fraud from the work of
Doge. Take a look at some of these things that took place. Billions of dollars we give it to people for no reason whatsoever. Of course they have been.
I want to bring up what is truly to a lot of people, one of the biggest achievements of your first term. That is.
What is this, a personal blowjob?
Operation Warp Speed. You got that COVID vaccine up and going and distributed, and a lot of people took it, and a lot of people that feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly.
What a cowardly
This is a
cuck.
very much different thing than COVID
What
in
a
terms of
cowardly ass
rapidity
cuck.
and speed and other things. Measles have been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much, and you can't tell moms and dads, it's a good thing to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes,
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I recommend it, yeah.
Got it. That
Do
was
I
my
mandate
question.
it? No.
No, I didn't
But I
ask
do
you.
recommend it, yes.
Good. Do you think
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism, do you think Kennedy recommends the measles vaccine?
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You satisfied with his
Yeah, I mean, he
response on this?
recommended that they go out and get the vaccine.
Okay.
Yeah.
still ahead.
I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
President Trump, the first 100 days, continues.
I want to talk a little bit about presidential power, the powers that you have in the presidency temporarily that the American people have given you, right? You've revoked a lot of people's security clearances. You've revoked people's security details who are still threatened, with death threats. You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people you don't like.
Well, they obviously agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's their bread and butter.
Boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not
you got
people
a lot of
that are
leverage
easily intimidated.
As president, you've got all the cards.
They paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir. You're crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc.? Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think that
we had a clause in the thing that, while we admit no wrongdoing, but it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's, these are the most powerful firms in the world.
I love how bribes are legal as long as you just cook up some sort of false fucking bullshit meritless case, and then you force these companies to pay you hundreds of millions of dollars of cash. Like, the corruption we have in this society is so fucking endemic, it's insane.
They just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way, but they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess he doesn't even say they did. He's just like, I'm surprised they gave me all this money. They must have done something wrong. Wow, what an argument. 3 inches, chat.
Question out of that is the concern that people have. Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what you're really not asking, and you should be asking. There has never been a president in this country, in the history, that was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And, people figured, well, maybe that's it. Finally, we got, he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter. And then I came back. And I came back because I have tremendous support. When you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states, I won the popular vote, I won 2,750 districts compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
But does that give you the right to go after your political opponents with the powers of this office?
I'm going after, all I'm doing, hey, Biden did something to me, and I did something to Biden. And you know why I did it? Because he's grossly incompetent. That's not a man that should be allowed to, be looking at things that are very confidential.
But what about,
because
71
here's a
people
man that used an auto pen to sign very important documents. Now, who really is, do you think he knew that they were using an auto pen? I mean, he used an auto pen to sign very, very important documents. And so those are really the questions you should be asking. What do you think of the auto pen? Who wielded the auto pen? Because whoever that person was, think of it, whoever the person that wielded the auto pen, he was really the president of the United States. Because I don't think that Biden knew anything about it.
Fair enough. But you are the president now, and I'm asking the justification
for
going...
What is an auto pen? It's exactly what it sounds like. An auto pen duplicates your signature.
After people you don't like.
No. People that I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I think
people
are
made you angry.
They say he's using this auto pen shit to try to declare things void without actually rescinding them themselves.
These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to go into top secret information. I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay. I understand you just had a phone call with a new Canadian premier, and they just had this election.
Yeah.
You were a big issue in it, and Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over Canada, it's going to become the 51st state. And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world. It feels like there's been reputational damage.
The country's doing great. Well, prices are down.
Not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
I know.
Now, Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
But do you think, I'm going to ask
you,
if I may, do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across the stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you for the opinion, but more importantly, thank you for having us here. I have one more question. It's a big one. It's a question that you know a lot of people have out there. What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again. We have a country that was failing. We have a country that was laughed at all over the world. We had a leader that was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. The election was rigged. He should have never been there. Our country suffered greatly, and now our country's coming back like nobody can believe. I have editorials just today where they're saying they've never seen anything like it. They love it. Our country's coming back, and we're respected again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Terry, very much.
I mean, I legitimately feel like whenever I watch Trump now, first of all, there's nothing funny. Nothing funny is being said. Everything he's saying is a delusional babble of a fucking child. There is not one redeeming characteristic to Donald Trump, which is pretty incredible, right? Like every other president we've had, they've had at least one thing you could point to and say like, hey, you know, George Bush was really affable and people, you know, he thought like he would be a fun guy to, you know, take to the park and crack a beer with or whatever the fuck. You know, he was athletic, whatever. Joe Biden really knew how to pick an ice cream cone. There was just something of human worth. With Donald Trump, there is not one fucking thing you can point to. And his policies are just completely incoherent. Not just right wing. Incoherently stupid. We're respected again. The country, in Canada, basically they elected a Wall Street banker just because he said, fuck America, KKK. We are legitimately fucked. All right, everybody. I'm mentally exhausted. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Hope the vibes were a little bit better. Here's all my links. Follow me on all the things. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. The Ethan Klein Sam Cedar debate tonight. Please yell at Sam Cedar to play the fucking stream on, like, please to do it live on their stream. Do the debate live on their stream. Compete. For the love of God, compete. All right, everybody. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. Free Palestine. Free America. And I'm so happy that we have seen that Mohsen Madawi has been released. Thank you, everybody. Tomorrow is May Day. So make sure you get out there on the streets. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is May Day. Take it easy. Stay safe. Sending you over to VO. Solidarity forever, my friends. And from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.